Transformers G1. Transformers G1 is the OG of Transformers cartoons for many, and I wouldn't debate the greatness of the show because it is truly unquestionable. Back in the day, when a toy line and a cartoon went hand in hand, this animated series also crafted a beautiful story that wasn't just about selling toys. The contest between the Autobots and Decepticons continue full scale, and there are some thrilling episodes that you just cannot miss out on. In this video, I will bring you a broader overview of the entire Transformers G1 series, and you can enjoy a nostalgic blast from the past if you are a Transformers fan. Also, if you appreciate the effort to bring you this content, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more.
Enter in my viewfinder.
Season 1, Episode 1, More Than Meets the Eye, Part 1. Ages ago, Cybertron is basically gutted, no energy left, just endless robot beef between Autobots and Decepticons. Wheeljack and Bumblebee, yeah, the little yellow dude, risk their shiny metal butts scavenging a handful of energy conductors. They are heading back to Iacon, probably dreaming of a nap, when Decepticons pop out for an ambush. Wild chase, some shooting action, and somehow they scramble back home. Only problem? Soundwave's lurking in the shadows with his creepy drone, Laserbeak, recording the whole thing like the universe's nosiest YouTuber. Inside Iacon, Jazz is giving Optimus Prime the bad news. Their search down in Cybertron's basement turned up squat, not a spark. So, Prime and his crew throw up their hands and decide, screw it, let's bounce and find energy somewhere else. Of course, Megatron's got ears everywhere, and he finds out, chases after them, and dumps poor Shockwave with babysitting duty back home. Space is not exactly a picnic either. The Autobots get smacked around by asteroids, and then the Decepticons show up to make things extra spicy. Both ships get wrecked, crash land on prehistoric Earth, right into the side of a volcano. Nothing happens for, 4 million years. Honestly, that's a hell of a nap. Then, the volcano erupts, wakes up the ship's computer, Teletrain 1's, and suddenly it's makeover time. The Transformers get rebuilt as cars and jets and all that Earth stuff. Skywarp's first up, brings Megatron back online, and soon the whole Decepticon crew is back on their nonsense. Starscream, being Starscream, accidentally wakes up Optimus Prime, so now it is game on. Megatron and his squad start building a Star Cruiser to get back home, while Soundwave, Starscream and Rumble jack energy from a power station. Hound and Cliffjumper, the Autobot scouts, spot them, but Cliffjumper can't help himself and blows their cover. Hound gets dinged up, and it's a scramble to get out. Back at base, the Autobots realize the Decepticons are plotting to steal enough juice to bounce back to Cybertron. Meanwhile, the Decepticons go full villain, trashing an offshore oil rig where a couple of humans, Sparkplug and Spike, got to love those names, are working. Autobots show up, big brawl, but the Decepticons snag the Energon cubes and get away. Megatron, never missing a chance for drama, blows the rig's supports, and the whole thing torches up and crashes into the ocean. The humans are about to be toast, but Optimus dives right into the flames to rescue them. And that, my friend, is where the Autobots vs. Decepticons smackdown kicks off on good old Earth. Buckle up, because it only gets crazier from here.
Back to Cybertron with enough energy to rule the universe, all in the third and...
Episode 2, More Than Meets the Eye, Part 2. The oil rig is basically a bonfire. Autobots are scrambling to pull folks out, and Huffer gets himself stuck under a pile of metal. Classic. Brawn, though, manages to haul him out like it's nothing. Meanwhile, Optimus is out here doing the heavy lifting, literally trying to save Spike and Sparkplug Witwicky. Not exactly a slow day at the office. While Prime's playing hero, Trailbreaker and Wheeljack are busy turning off the grill, dousing the blaze before things get worse. Spike and Sparkplug, once they are not about to be squished, are super grateful and introduce themselves, ready to lend a hand. They all pile back to the Ark, the Autobots' not-so-secret clubhouse, except Spike brings along a cassette player. Guess who? Yep, it's Soundwave in disguise. Smooth move. Spike's just poking around the ship with Hound, totally oblivious, while sneaky Soundwave hacks into Teletrain 1, scoping out Earth's best energy spots. Eventually, Spike stumbles onto Soundwave doing his shady business, flips the panic button, and all hell breaks loose. Soundwave bolts, but leaves his pet spy Ravage behind, who the Autobots manage to nab. Of course, Soundwave gets the scoop back to Megatron. Their next big heist? Sherman Dam. Decepticons show up, and Rumble starts pounding the ground with his pile drivers, turning the dam into a ticking time bomb. Teletrain-wise like, guys, maybe check this out? Autobots roll out. Mayhem ensues. Hound tries to take out Rumble underwater, but gets absolutely schooled. Ironhide and Bumblebee hustle to reroute the river so nobody gets washed away. Meanwhile, Prime and Megatron are slinging energy blasts on top of the dam, epic showdown, until Megatron sucker punches Prime into the river and the Decepticons bail with their loot. Jazz fishes Prime out, the team regroups, and it's back to the grind. Let's get those Decepticons. Back at the baddies' camp, Starscream's wasting Energon cubes, just blasting stuff for fun. Seriously, this guy's a walking HR problem. Now they need more juice, so off to the ruby crystal mines in Burma. Plot twist. Trailbreaker, Spike and Sparkplug are listening in. On their way back to Tattle, they get jumped by some Seekers, but Sunstreaker and Sideswipe come in hot and chase the bad guys off. The Decepticons get to work mining these super-powered rubies, but the Autobots are lying low outside. Wheeljack hands Bumblebee this tiny bomb to sabotage the mine, and Sparkplug's like, let's do this. They sneak in, drop the charge, but Thundercracker and Skywarp catch them sneaking out. When Bumblebee and Sparkplug do not show up, Prime rolls in, sends his drone roller on a rescue mission, and right then, the mine blows. The blast knocks Prime off his wheels, tumbling down the mountain.
Extinction to all traitors!
Episode 3, More Than Meets the Eye, Part 3. Wheeljack's bomb goes off. Everything's chaos, and Optimus Prime is tumbling down the mountainside like he's auditioning for an action movie, except, he's a truck. He bounces back, dusts himself off, well, metaphorically, and flips back into robot mode. Autobots start digging through the mess, probably panicking a bit, but hey, they find Bumblebee and Sparkplug alive, which is honestly a miracle at this point. But of course, they barely have time to celebrate before the Decepticons pop up, and they jet off with all the Energon. Ironhide's ticked off, so he just rockets into the sky after them, totally not thinking this through. Bluestreak's like, bro, chill, and chases after him. Skywarp does his teleport ninja thing, blasts Ironhide out of the air, and Ironhide ends up taking an unexpected dip in a lake. Autobots fish him out, Ratchet does his medic thing, and everyone limps back to base. Back at HQ, Hound's messing with Ravage, because Autobots get bored too, apparently. And with Mirage's help, they cook up a plan to trick the Decepticons with some totally fake story about a secret rocket fuel stash. Ravage, being sneaky as ever, overhears this accidental info drop, and Hound just happens to drop the key to his cage. Ravage makes a break for it and runs straight back to Megatron, who is basically giddy at the thought of more free energy. Meanwhile, at Decepticon HQ, Starscream tries to pull his usual backstabby nonsense on Megatron. No luck. Soundwave rats him out, Megatron's got a shield, and Starscream gets smacked down. Megatron's not wasting time. He is already plotting an attack on the rocket base at dawn. Cut to the Autobots in the desert, setting up their trap, Hound's whipping up some next-level holograms to fake out the Decepticons. The bad guys show up, and the Autobots are ready to rumble, except those Decepticons are just decoys. Megatron's already 2 steps ahead, sending the real crew to Cape Carlson to steal the actual rocket fuel. The Decepticons steamroll the humans guarding the place, snatch up the last of the energy, and get their space cruiser prepped for a one-way trip to Cybertron. Now it's crunch time. Optimus rallies everyone, and they charge the Decepticon base. But Megatron's not playing around. They manage to launch the cruiser mid-battle. Prime's not about to let that slide, so he borrows Sideswipe's rocket pack and goes full Iron Man after them. Too bad, he gets blasted mid-air, crash lands, and the Autobots gather around, probably thinking, well, that went well, but wait, Mirage is missing. Turns out, he snuck on board the Decepticon ship, using his invisibility powers like a total ninja. Starscream tries his betrayal thing again, but Mirage totally wrecks the controls, chaos breaks out, and the whole ship spirals into the ocean. Mirage bails out with a parachute, because why not make an exit in style? With the Decepticons apparently toast, the Autobots throw a party. Spike's busy writing in his journal like he is the main character. Governments everywhere agree to give Prime the energy to fix up Cybertron, and everyone is talking about visiting the Transformers' home turf. But because nothing ever stays buried in this universe, the Decepticon cruiser is still chilling at the bottom of the ocean. Suddenly the hatch bursts open and, yep, you guessed it, Megatron's hand pops out.
Autobots, take cover before they attack!
Episode 4, Transport to Oblivion. Months have passed by and not a peep from the Decepticons. Most of the Autobots, super chill, basically convinced the bad guys bit the dust in that big ocean crash. Except Cliffjumper, who is still jumpier than a squirrel on Red Bull, blasting anything even slightly Decepticon-ish. Honestly, even Optimus is not buying the whole "they're gone" story. And he is right, because guess what? The Decepticons are alive and kicking, squatting in a secret undersea base they cobbled together from their trashed ship. Meanwhile, back on Cybertron, Shockwave has barely got enough juice to keep his lights on, but somehow manages to ping Megatron. He is like, "Hey boss, we're basically out of energon. It's looking grim." But there is a twist. He has also whipped up this new space bridge gizmo that can zap stuff from Earth to Cybertron and back. So the Decepticons jump right back into their old habits, raiding a solar power plant. Soundwave and Laserbeak show up, freak everyone out, and start bagging that sweet, sweet energy. Jazz and Spike Witwicky stuck in traffic, thanks to a sudden blackout. They smell trouble and bolt back to base. Teletran 9 has got bad news. The blackout's spreading, and Megatron's behind it. Optimus does not waste time. He rounds up Ironhide, Ratchet, Prowl, Cliffjumper, Gears, and Bumblebee for a good old smackdown at the solar plant. They manage to shoo the Decepticons away, but Megatron still nabs a hefty energy haul. Poor Ironhide gets dinged up saving Optimus, and while Ratchet and Sparkplug patch him up, his ego takes the real pounding. Optimus starts getting suspicious about how the Decepticons plan to ship all that energon to Cybertron. So, he sends Bumblebee and Spike to snoop around. They stumble onto the space bridge right as it flops its first test. Before they can scram, they get nabbed. Megatron, ever the genius, figures, "Hey, let's use them as guinea pigs." But the whole thing goes sideways when the bridge shuts down early, leaving Bumblebee and Spike stuck. Bumblebee busts loose in the chaos, but Spike isn't so lucky and gets grabbed again. Even worse, Megatron monkey wrenches Bumblebee's memory, turning him into a walking, talking trap. Bumblebee limps back to Autobot HQ with a scrambled brain, spinning a story about Spike being stashed somewhere else. The Autobots, trusting their little buddy, charge off to save the day, only to walk straight into a Decepticon ambush. Classic move. Battle breaks out, but then the space bridge fires up again, and the Decepticons bail, blowing up the cave entrance for good measure. Bumblebee's hurt, and Ratchet finally figures out his memory's been fried. Once the Autobots sniff out the real space bridge spot, they bust free and hit the road. Final showdown, the Autobots save Spike and wreck the Decepticons' energon shipment. In the chaos, Megatron takes an accidental trip through the space bridge. Starscream, who has been waiting for this moment forever, snags the top spot and orders a retreat. But plot twist, Megatron pops up on Cybertron, majorly ticked off and gunning for revenge.
Nail him!
Episode 5, Roll for It. Starscream's still running the Decepticon show, while Megatron's off doing his own thing in the cosmos. He tries to pull off a big score with Thundercracker and Soundwave at a hydroelectric plant, but honestly, things go sideways fast. Some random machine part trashes their precious energon stash, so they are left with Zip. The Decepticons bail, tail between their legs, and Prowl and Bluestreak are hot on their heels. Meanwhile, Megatron pops up on Space Zoom, or whatever they use, checking in from Cybertron, and probably already annoyed at whatever mess Starscream's made. He is not even back on Earth yet, but insists the next plan, hitting up an antimatter lab. He has got that "I'm not mad, just disappointed" energy as he heads for the space bridge. Elsewhere, Bumblebee's doing his usual Autobot Uber thing, carting Spike and their buddy Chip Chase to the lab. Chip grabs a floppy disk from Dr. Alcazar so he can mess with the lab's systems from home. But classic Decepticon move, Reflector's creeping outside with his camera, catching it all. Right after, Laserbeak ambushes Bumblebee, forcing him to duck into a garage. Megatron, realizing the Autobots probably know what's up, says "Screw Starscream's schedule" and launches the attack early. Bumblebee races Chip home to get the word out, while Starscream's busy raiding an aircraft factory to keep Prowl and Bluestreak occupied. At the antimatter lab, Decepticons bust in, but Chip's warning saves the day. Dr. Alcazar zaps the formula straight to Chip's computer and wipes everything. Megatron, not missing a beat, tracks the Data's new home. Meanwhile, at the factory, Prowl gets wrecked, his systems fried. In a wild move, he links up to Chip's computer, letting Chip straight up remote control him. Chip, driving Prowl's body, grabs a jet and literally chases off the Decepticons. Megatron's not done. He sends Ravage to kidnap Chip. Ravage busts in, just as Chip wraps up memorizing the formula and torches any backups. Chip gets snatched and dragged back to the antimatter lab. Soundwave does his creepy brain scan thing, rips the formula from Chip's head, and Megatron's ready to off him. But Autobots crash the party, Bumblebee, Mirage, Hound, all sneaking in with holograms and whatnot. They bust Chip out, and then Optimus rolls in, guns blazing. Megatron fights back with some overpowered antimatter energon, blows the place sky high, and chases the Autobots off. Back at Autobot HQ, the gang's licking their wounds, and Chip's feeling like he just lost the Super Bowl. Wheeljack's there for the pep talk, hinting they might still flip the antimatter trick on Megatron. Next day, the Decepticons show up at Autobot HQ, all charged up and ready to flatten the place. Megatron turns into his gun mode, and Starscream blasts away. In the chaos, Chip sneaks a gizmo onto Skywarp, and Teletrain 1 hijacks his targeting. Skywarp goes bananas, accidentally overloading Megatron with antimatter. Megatron freaks, coughs up the unstable core, and boom, massive explosion. Decepticons totally wrecked. Megatron's embarrassed, swears revenge, and pieces out. The Autobots celebrate, pat Chip on the back, and that is another win for the good guys. Episode 6, Divide and Conquer. Factories on Earth are basically running non-stop at this point. Everyone is in overdrive just to keep up with the whole "stop the Decepticons" thing. Chip Chase, being the tech whiz, drops by one plant to help soup up their weapons game. But before you can say more than meets the eye, Starscream and his squadron crash the party. They do not just knock politely, they smash through the walls, guzzle all the energy, and throw the place into chaos. Chip, bless him, manages to sneak out a distress call while everyone is distracted. Optimus Prime, who is out hunting for that ridiculous space bridge with Spike, gets the call and immediately rallies the troops. Except, Prime being Prime, he barrels in first and takes on the Seekers solo. In the chaos, some poor computer bank gets blasted and starts to cook off. Prime, because he's a giant robot hero, throws himself between the humans and the blast, takes the hit like a champ, but it leaves him a smoking wreck. The Decepticons, never ones to pass up a cheap shot, gang up on him, knock him down, and make off with their energon loot. Back at the Ark, things are looking rough. Prime's basically on life support. He's sparking, his systems are fried, he's barely got the juice to mumble. Meanwhile, Megatron, not content with just having nearly killed the big guy, sends Laserbeak in to snoop around. Laserbeak tries to finish the job with a sneak attack, but Prime somehow pulls through. Ratchet and Wheeljack do their diagnostics, and, of course, it would not be Transformers if the only thing that could save Prime wasn't some super rare gizmo, the Cosmotron, which is, naturally, locked up on Cybertron behind Decepticon security. Here's where Chip really shines. He's the only one savvy enough to hack through Cybertronian firewalls. Using Teletrain Y, he tracks the space bridge's next jump. Autobots roll out to intercept and catch Starscream and Rumble loading up Energon for shipment. They throw down, but then Megatron tells the Decepticons to throw the fight because he's got some new storm-based scheme brewing. So off go Bumblebee, Blue Streak, Trailbreaker, and Ironhide through the space bridge straight into Decepticon Central. They have to blast past Shockwave just to reach Wheeljack's lab. Chip does his hacker magic, gets the Cosmotron, but the Rainmakers show up and dump acid rain all over the Autobots. Circuits start frying, but Chip's fine. Trailbreaker throws up a force field. The Autobots patch themselves up. Blue Streak clears the toxic mess, and they all book it back to Earth. Meanwhile, Megatron figures Prime's toast and goes all in, launching a full-on assault on the Ark. The Autobots are this close to giving up. Huffer's already writing his own obituary until Spike stands up, gives them a pep talk, and gets everyone's heads back in the game. Just in time, Chip and Spike show up with the Cosmotron. Prime gets his second wind and jumps back into the fight. He faces off with Megatron and, in classic fashion, hands him his tailpipe. Megatron slinks away, Starscream looking way too smug for someone who lost, and the Autobots live to fight another day. Episode 7, SOS Dinobots. The Autobots are relaxing at their base when everything starts shaking. Not an earthquake, just some weird tremors. Spike pokes around and figures out the shaking is coming from this rock wall. Of course, the Autobots smash through it and stumble into a secret cave jam-packed with dinosaur bones. You can practically see the light bulb over Optimus and Wheeljack's heads. Hey, what if we made robot dinosaurs? Meanwhile, Soundwave and Reflector are off doing the standard Decepticon creep routine, spying on the Great Falls hydroelectric plant for Megatron. Back on the Autobot side, Spike drags Hound to a natural history museum so they can actually learn what a Stegosaurus is before building one. Hound even grabs some sweet holograms for show and tell. Wheeljack and Ratchet geek out over Teletrain Y's blueprints and convince Prime to let them build some robo-dinos. Next thing you know, Grimlock, Slag, and Sludge are stomping around the Ark. While Megatron is busy cooking up plans to steal endless energy from the dam, the Dinobots get powered up and immediately go berserk. Turns out, giving giant robots T-Rex brains is a terrible idea. Grimlock trashes Teletrain Y, cutting off everyone's Wi-Fi, and the Dinobots go on a metallic rampage. Wheeljack, probably regretting everything, zaps them with a magnetic gizmo and shuts them down. Prime, being Prime, orders them locked up for everyone's safety, even though Wheeljack's not happy about it. Megatron attacks the dam, and the humans can't call for help because Teletrain Y is toast. Hound finally picks up the distress, and Optimus rolls out with the squad, but they get ambushed. Megatron, now juiced up like he has been chugging monster energy, triggers a landslide and sends the Autobots into the river. Things are looking real grim. But you know Bumblebee, rules are more like suggestions. He grabs Spike and zooms back to the Ark. The Autobots are captured, it is not looking good, and the Decepticons are basically prepping for a robot execution. Wheeljack, desperate and done playing by the rules, decides to fire up the Dinobots again. This time, he gives them a brain boost, and suddenly they are a lot less rampaging toddler and a bit more helpful teammate. The Dinobots burst out of the volcano like it's Jurassic Park gone wild, crash the party at the dam, and start smashing Decepticons left and right. Wheeljack nails Megatron with some sci-fi gadget. Starscream does his usual "I'm the leader now" routine, and the baddies hightail it out of there. Wheeljack and Bumblebee are bracing for the mother of all lectures from Optimus, but instead, Prime admits he messed up. The Dinobots are officially on the team. Everyone celebrates, the Dinobots roar, and Spike probably needs a nap. The Ultimate Doom Part 1, Brainwash. Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp decide to trash a solar power station off India's Malabar coast. Optimus Prime and the crew, Wheeljack, Jazz, Sunstreaker, basically the A-Team, rush in to stop the chaos. Joke's on them, though. The whole thing is just smoke and mirrors. Meanwhile, Megatron's chilling with his mad scientist buddy, Dr. Arkeville, watching the fireworks and kicking off Operation Guinea Pig. While the Autobots are distracted playing hero, Soundwave sends Rumble and Ravage to pull a sneaky back at Autobot headquarters. Rumble's out there shaking things up. Laserbeak swoops in like a feathery ninja, kidnaps Sparkplug Witwicky, and bolts. The Seekers bug out of India all of a sudden, and Prime's spidey sense goes off. Sunstreaker double checks. Yep, their HQ just got trashed. Over at Decepticon HQ, things get weird. Arkeville slaps a hypno chip on Sparkplug, turning him into a zombie butler. For kicks, they make him attack a fake Optimus Prime. Megatron's big idea? Mind-controlled humans everywhere. Because, world domination never gets old. Oh, and the new space bridge is ready. The Autobots try a rescue. Prime comes in, guns blazing from above, while Cliffjumper, Brawn, and Windcharger go all mission, impossible from below. They get Sparkplug out, but he is obviously not himself. The Decepticons hit back, Sparkplug sabotages their gear, and Teletran 1 goes down. Not a great look. During the chaos, Sparkplug tries to get his own son, Spike, to join the Decepticons. Yeah, that's not traumatizing at all. Spike's like, "Hard pass, Dad." As things fall apart, Spike smashes the emergency phone button, covering everyone in fire-retardant goop. The Decepticons bail, but Sparkplug's still under their spell and follows them right out. Then Megatron, never one to think small, reveals his plan: drag Cybertron into Earth's orbit and harvest the disaster energy. Arkeville actually grows a conscience for about 5 seconds, but Megatron shuts him down. The Autobots finally track down the space bridge, but they are met by a wall of hypnotized humans, Sparkplug included. Not much you can do when your attackers are wielding rocks and sticks, and also happen to be your friends. Spike stops his dad from smacking Bumblebee, but Arkeville just cranks the mind control back up. Sparkplug activates the first pylon. Thundercracker hits the second, and Optimus ends up wrestling Megatron for the third. Megatron basically blackmails Prime. Push the button or Cybertron gets it. Prime caves, and boom! Cybertron's now Earth's new, super dangerous moon. The Decepticons are loving it, but Prime's looking like he just ruined everything. The Ultimate Doom Part 2, Search. When Cybertron swings into Earth's orbit, it causes random storms, quakes. Buildings are shaking. Lightning is doing its best Michael Bay impression. And in the middle of all this, Sparkplug is just straight up loving the chaos. Poor Spike's over here, basically begging his dad to snap out of Decepticon mind control. But Sparkplug's too far gone. Both sides, Autobots, Decepticons, are totally overwhelmed, just trying to keep their wheels on the ground. Megatron, never one to miss an opportunity for villainy, tells Soundwave to crank up those audio disruptor waves. Next thing you know, Autobots are clutching their heads, probably thinking, "Not this again." Optimus has no choice, and he calls for a retreat. Spike, meanwhile, gets his heart stomped on as he watches Sparkplug happily hop onto Skywarp, still Team Decepticon. Starscream tries to mouth off about the whole letting the Autobots get away thing, but Megatron is not having it. He just grabs Starscream by the neck like, "You want to finish that thought?" Meanwhile, the humans who were basically zombie slaves suddenly snap out of it, stumbling around confused thanks to those disruptor waves. Dr. Arkeville freaks out because his fancy mind control hypno chips are on the fritz, so he rushes to tweak the signal. He manages to re-brainwash Sparkplug, and Megatron's all like, "No worries, Doc, we'll round up more meatbags for your science project." On the way back to base, Spike and Bumblebee get separated from the crew. The weather's just getting worse by the minute. Out of nowhere, the ground cracks open and swallows Bumblebee, and Spike gets snatched up by Laserbeak. Luckily, Hound, Bluestreak, and Windcharger show up and pull off a last-second rescue. Over at Decepticon HQ, they are starting to ship Energon cubes back to Cybertron, and Arkeville's getting salty about Megatron using humans as shields. Megatron just brushes him off, conveniently not mentioning that Earth might be toast when he is done. Even the Decepticons are not safe. Tsunamis hammer their underwater base. Back at Autobot HQ, they figure it is time to unleash the Dinobots. Grimlock does not care until he realizes, wait, I could get squished too. Suddenly, he is all in. Then, just to keep things spicy, the volcano by HQ erupts, launching Autobots everywhere. Skyfire does a heroic swoop in to save the day, while Ironhide pulls off a last-minute avalanche to reroute the lava. Optimus finds out Sparkplug's been shipped off to Cybertron. Spike's not having it. He is determined to save his dad and get to the bottom of the whole mind control mess. He joins up with Skyfire, Wheeljack, Brawn, Trailbreaker, and Bumblebee on a rescue mission to Cybertron. Barely set foot on the planet, and Spike's already captured. Don't worry. Brawn and Bumblebee bust him out. They sneak into Shockwave's fortress, dig up some crucial info on the mind control tech. But then Sparkplug shows up, smacks the alarm, and suddenly their whole plan is on the line. The Ultimate Doom, Part 3, Revival. On Cybertron, Sparkplug's still totally brainwashed. He straight up rats out Spike, Brawn, and Bumblebee. Shockwave and Soundwave come gunning for them, and honestly, it is not looking good until Skyfire, Wheeljack, and Trailbreaker swoop in like the cavalry. The gang regroups at Wheeljack's lab. They poke around at these creepy hypno chips they snagged. Meanwhile, way back on Earth, Megatron's up to his usual nonsense, bossing everyone around and building this ridiculous sea funnel thing to suck up more energy. Dr. Arkville's looking more and more fed up. He is clearly realizing Megatron's partnership is about as real as a unicorn. He starts eyeballing Starscream, who acts all buddy-buddy. Then you've got Optimus Prime rolling up to the beach with Jazz, Prowl, Ironhide, and Bluestreak. This should be epic, right? Instead, they wipe out, literally like Autobot surfboards flying everywhere. The Decepticons just laugh and bounce with a shuttle full of Energon. Megatron ditches Arkville but Starscream scoops up the dock for his own weird science projects. Back on Cybertron, Wheeljack whips up this gizmo to break the hypno chip spell. Spike, ever the family guy, tries to save his dad, but Shockwave catches him. Lucky for everyone, Wheeljack flips the switch just in time. Sparkplug snaps out of it, and the Autobots bust it back to Earth. Meanwhile, Megatron's still doing his Energon thing on some random island. Starscream, hiding out with Arkville, tries to zap energy out of the Doc's brain. It flops, obviously. Megatron finds out, gets murdery, but then the Autobots show up, and the chaos level goes to 11. Mirage helps the brainwashed humans escape, Skyfire and the rest join, and things get wild. Oh, and then, just when you think it can't get crazier, Cybertron pops up in the sky, causing tsunamis everywhere. Megatron bails, blasting off to Cybertron with his loot. Things are dire. Spike's like, what if we just move Cybertron out of here? Prime puts 2 and 2 together and realizes Megatron's Energon stash might do the trick. So, naturally, Autobots blast the shuttle, and Cybertron gets booted out of Earth's orbit. On the beach, Spike's hoping Megatron's finally toast, but Prime's not buying it. And yeah, he's right. Somewhere in deep space, a crispy Megatron claws out of the wreckage, already plotting his next big comeback. War of the Dinobots. Chip and Jeff are relaxing at the observatory, probably snacking on stale coffee and donuts, when they spot a meteor doing some real weird stuff on their monitors. Energy readings are off the charts, so naturally they freak out and call up the Autobots. Optimus Prime does not waste time. He gets everyone moving, tells the Dinobots, hey, you are on crash site duty, don't mess this up. Meanwhile, Decepticon HQ is a whole mood. Megatron's pacing around, ranting about how the Dinobots keep handing him losses. He is not taking it well. So he turns to Soundwave and tells him to get the dirt on the Dinobots. Soundwave does his creepy mind-reading thing and figures out Grimlock's got an ego the size of Cybertron, Slag's got anger issues, and Sludge, well, let's just say he's not winning any science fairs. Megatron, being the master manipulator he is, rolls up to the meteor site and starts sweet-talking the Dinobots. Throws a little shade at Optimus, plants seeds of doubt, and Grimlock bites. Suddenly, he is all about leading the Dinobots himself, and even throws down with Optimus. Back at Autobot HQ, Prime's not wasting time sulking. He's like, fine, you want Dinobots? I'll give you Dinobots. With Spike, Chip, Ratchet, and Wheeljack, he starts cranking out 2 more, Snarl and Swoop. Meanwhile, Wheeljack's poking at a chunk of meteor and realizes, uh-oh, this thing's a ticking time bomb. Trailbreaker barely locks it down before it blows, and Optimus rushes off to warn the Dinobots. Too late though, they have already gone full traitor, no talking them down. They smack Prime around and hand him over to Megatron like yesterday's trash. Megatron is too busy juicing the meteor for Energon to listen to anyone, especially Starscream, who's basically screaming, "Hey, this is a bad idea!" The Dinobots drag in the battered Optimus, and Starscream takes the chance to roast Grimlock for having a heart. Grimlock's response shoots him. Back at Autobot HQ, Sparkplug and Chip are sweating bullets. Optimus is MIA. Teletrain-wise, the meteor's about to go kaboom! So, Snarl and Swoop get sent in as reinforcements. Over at the canyon, Megatron finally catches on that the meteor's about to blow, but he is a little slow on the uptake. Big explosion, Decepticons go flying. Swoop and Snarl show up just in time for an epic Dinobot versus Dinobot brawl. In the middle of all this, Grimlock gets tossed near the meteor, and even though Prime's battered and betrayed, he shields Grimlock from getting nuked. That is some next-level leadership. Grimlock finally gets it. Optimus is the real deal, and pulls the Dinobots back to the good side. They smack the Decepticons around, who naturally run off. Grimlock, for once, swallows his pride and asks for forgiveness. Optimus just tells everyone it's over, and time to head home, all stoic and cool as ever. Autobots drive off, stronger than before, with the meteor threat just a bad memory. Episode 12, Countdown to Extinction. Cybertron's not hanging over Earth like a cosmic wrecking ball anymore, which means Optimus and his crew are finally doing something other than punching robots. They are out there patching up cities, waving to kids, being all Boy Scouts and stuff. Everyone figures Megatron's toast, gone, when Cybertron got booted. Except, nothing is ever that simple. With Megatron out of the picture, the Decepticons are basically headless chickens. Their hideouts trashed, Starscream's vanished, and the leftovers, Skywarp, Rumble, Frenzy, Thundercracker, just start bickering like kids in the back seat. It's pure chaos for like 2 seconds. Then, Megatron swaggers back in, very much alive and way more pissed than usual. Finds out Starscream's not only breathing, but scheming with Dr. Arkeville. Megatron's not having any of that. He's off to hunt down the traitor. Meanwhile, Starscream is convinced that he's finally free of Megatron, so he drags Arkeville to some sketchy lab and finds this exponential generator. Basically, a doomsday blender. If it blows, Earth's toast. Starscream rigs the thing to blow and drags Arkeville along, planning to juice up Cybertron with Earth's destruction. He even bullies Shockwave into helping, acting like the big shot now that Megatron's dead. Meanwhile, the Autobots sniff out something fishy and show up, but the Decepticons drop them in quicksand. Ironhide busts out his liquid nitrogen and they wriggle free. Jazz nabs Laserbeak, squeezes some info out of him, and now everyone's racing to Arkeville's lab. Starscream's in full mad scientist mode, but Arkeville grows a conscience at the worst time and tries to mess up the plan, gets zapped for his trouble. The Medicroids patch him up, but now he is like 70% cyborg and still shady as ever. Big brawl erupts at the lab. Autobots and Decepticons throwing down, Megatron and Prime slugging it out over the generator, completely clueless about how unstable it is. Out of nowhere, Shockwave calls in, rats out Starscream. Megatron finally gets it. This thing is about to blow, so he rips out the timer at the last second. Doesn't matter though, the generator's still about to go nuclear. So, Megatron and Prime, who would usually rather eat nails than work together, team up and rocket launch the thing into space with Megatron's cannon. It explodes just as Starscream's flying back, smacks him out of the sky, and he crash lands at Megatron's feet. Starscream starts groveling like a pro, but Megatron just drags him off, probably to a team-building exercise involving pain. Autobots let them run away. Bumblebee's like, wonder what Megatron's got planned for Starscream. Everyone just laughs, because, come on, it's not going to be hugs and cupcakes. Episode 13, Fire in the Sky. Summer's supposed to be all sunshine and sweat, right? Not for the Autobots, apparently. Out of nowhere, there's snow dumped all over their volcano hideout. Yeah, a volcano with snow. Makes 0 sense. And then, Spike ropes them into a snowball fight in the desert. Teletrain gets all dramatic and says, Earth's freezing way too fast. Something's seriously wrong. So where is it coming from? The Arctic. Decepticons are jerking around with some weird crystal tunnel straight to the planet's core, sucking up all the heat. While they are digging around, Rumble trips over this frozen Transformer popsicle, Skyfire. Turns out, he used to be Starscream's science buddy back when Starscream had friends. Starscream gets all nostalgic, ranting about their old Earth adventures until Skyfire got iced over in a blizzard eons ago. Now, Skyfire's grateful, so he tags along with the Decepticons, but you can tell he has got second thoughts. Dude's a scientist, not a psycho. Autobots roll up with Spike and Sparkplug, and Skyfire just wrecks their plans, splitting the team. Spike nearly bites it in a freezing lake, but Sparkplug yanks him out. They start yelling for help, and Skyfire, being the curious nerd he is, scoops them up and hauls them to Megatron. Megatron obviously is a jerk and throws them in a cell, planning to off them. Skyfire's not feeling it. You can tell he is starting to see the Decepticon not great. Meanwhile, Prime's crew is off rescuing the humans, and the rest are snooping around the crystal. Megatron snags the second team, then Starscream tries to make Skyfire prove his loyalty by telling him to take out the Autobots. Skyfire hesitates, so Starscream just blasts him and thinks he's wiped out the good guys. Joke's on him. Hound used a hologram, so they're fine. Ratchet patches up Skyfire, and everyone gets ready for Megatron's next tantrum. Big showdown time. Prime and Megatron smack each other around with crystal shards. Skyfire swoops in, says "screw you" to Megatron, and joins the Autobots for real. He and Starscream throw down in the sky. Classic rival stuff. In the end, Skyfire goes out with a bang, blowing up the crystal and stopping the Decepticons' scheme, but he crashes into the ice and disappears. The Autobots are left picking up the pieces, saluting their new friend, gone way too soon, but finally on the right side.
What would you say about me?
Episode 14, Heavy Metal War. Total pandemonium at some construction site. Machines just going berserk, nobody even driving them. Workers are freaking out, tools flying everywhere, and these vehicles are basically looting the place for spare parts. Turns out it's the Constructicons pulling the strings, and yeah, they are rolling out straight to Decepticon HQ. These guys are not just stealing for fun, they're on a scavenger hunt for Megatron, piecing together some wacky contraption so he can jack the power chip rectifiers from his own crew. Basically, he wants to hoard all the cool superpowers for himself and turn into an unstoppable juggernaut. Once this Frankenstein machine is ready, Megatron crashes the Autobot base with the most extra challenge ever. A one-on-one smackdown against Optimus Prime. Stakes? Oh, only the fate of both factions. Loser and all their pals get blasted off into deep space. Winner gets to chill on Earth and rule the playground. Prime, being the Boy Scout he is, says, "Game on." But here is the kicker. While Prime's doing his warm-ups, Megatron's cheating his metal arse off. He nabs Skywarp's teleportation, Thundercracker's eardrum-shattering sonic booms, Rumble's earthquakes. He is basically playing with all the cheat codes enabled. Meanwhile, Starscream's lurking around, paranoid that Teletrain Wayne is going to blow the whistle. So Megatron dispatches the Constructicons to go full hacker and smash the system. Cut to the big fight. Megatron's tossing Prime around like yesterday's scrap metal, and Starscream's colour commentating the whole thing. Poor Prime does not even know he is getting hustled, and eventually he throws in the towel. Autobots, sticking to the deal, start packing for their cosmic road trip while the Decepticons strut around like they own the place. But you know, nothing is ever that easy. Back at Autobot HQ, the Constructicons start digging their way to Teletrain Wayne, about to finish the job. Except the computer wakes up the Dinobots, and suddenly there's chaos. We are talking an underground brawl, lava rivers bursting open, and the Constructicons doing their Power Rangers thing, merging into Devastator. Autobots rush back just in time to see the world's angriest robot demolition derby. The Autobots and Dinobots throw everything they have got at Devastator, but it's like fighting a mountain. Then Hound gets clever, projects a massive fake Autobot hologram, spooking Devastator just long enough for Prime to land the money shot. The big guy falls apart, the Constructicons go for a swim in lava, and the rest of the Decepticons either bail or end up crispy. Autobots are pumped, but Megatron claws his way out of the lava, still kicking, still plotting. He's not done, not by a long shot. So yeah, Autobots might have won the day, but as for the whole war, far from over. Episode 15, Fire on the Mountain. Trailbreaker and Brawn are just doing their rounds at some refinery, probably bored out of their minds, when they catch Starscream and Thundercracker jacking steel like it's Black Friday at a hardware store. The Decepticons pull their usual drama, blow up half the place, and ditch, leaving Optimus Prime scratching his head like, what the heck are they up to this time? Autobot surveillance picks up some weird energy mumbo-jumbo beaming out of the Peruvian Andes. Turns out, the Decepticons are hanging around some ancient Incan temple, eyeing the legendary Crystal of Power. Apparently, it's just chilling there over a shaft straight down to Earth's core. Megatron, being the overachiever he is, whips up a new weapon with that stolen steel. The thing melts faster than cheap ice cream in July. Naturally, he blames Starscream and Thundercracker, because what else is new, then bails to snag better materials, dumping temple guard duty on those two losers. Meanwhile, the local villagers are freaking out about the temple glowing all freaky. An old lady's convinced it is the gods throwing a fit, but her granddaughter Louisa's got a better guess. Someone's messing with the crystal. Meanwhile, up in the Arctic, Sideswipe and Wheeljack dig Skyfire out of the ice like he is a frozen dinner. They slap him back together. Then he jets Brawn and Windcharger off to Peru for some action. Cue the obligatory brawl. They tangle with Soundwave and Reflector. Skyfire snoops around the temple. Chaos erupts. And when Megatron starts mopping the floor with them, Skyfire pulls a heroic save and zips off to get backup. Back in Peru, Autobots crash another Decepticon smash and grab. Brawn even gets his hands on Megatron's own cannon and gives him a taste of his own medicine. Laserbeak swoops in, swipes the weapon back, and Megatron sends Skywarp off on an errand for tougher metal, basically giving Starscream and Thundercracker the cold shoulder again. All hell breaks loose when a tower almost lands on Louisa, but Spike and Bumblebee pull off the clutch save. Louisa, because she rules, sneaks them into the temple through a secret door. Inside, they find Skyfire busted up. Spike does some quick wrench work while Bumblebee fends off Ravage. Meanwhile, Thundercracker's busy having a crisis. Should he rat on Starscream or just keep his head down? Starscream catches him sulking and basically threatens him into silence. Megatron stirs up a rock slide to cover his gang's retreat, but the Autobots are not letting that slide. They blast the rocks away and save the miners. Finale time. Megatron finally gets his weapon working. Starts blasting the Autobots to Kingdom Come, but then Skyfire swoops back in, wrecks Megatron's toy, and unleashes a mountain-sized energy light show. The Decepticons run, Thundercrackers secretly loving their failure, and Wheeljack seals up the energy shaft with some new gadget. The Autobots kick back. Louisa thanks Spike and Bumblebee and promises Bumblebee a meet cute with her brother's car, Juanita.
I'll give you a battle you won't forget.
Episode 16, A Plague of the Insecticons. Deep in Barley's demon swamp, three weird robo-bugs are just chowing down on stolen grain like they're at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Shrapnel, Bombshell, Kickback. The Insecticon trio. They look like giant bugs, but do not be fooled. They are full-on robots with appetites that would put your average teenager to shame. Spike catches wind of the robot insects on the news and hops aboard Skyfire with a handful of Autobots to check it out. Sparkplug? He hangs back, tries to give Optimus Prime a heads up. Too bad Laserbeak's got that whole spy drone thing down and snitches to Megatron, who decides to handle it himself. Megatron and his crew show up and finds out that these bug bots are actually lost Decepticons from some ancient escape pod crash. Megatron, always recruiting, immediately rolls out the welcome mat for his new Insecticon pals. Meanwhile, Optimus and the Autobots are desperately trying to get to a farm under attack, but get sidetracked by a local festival. Sideswipe, not one for patience, just starts tunneling through rock like he's auditioning for a mining gig. Back at the farm, Bumblebee, Windcharger and Brawn try to take on the Insecticons, They get absolutely wrecked by the bug's crazy cloning powers and high-tech weapons. When Megatron shows up and drops the "You're one of us" speech, the Insecticons team up with the Decepticons, and things go from bad to worse. Just when it's looking grim, Optimus and the cavalry finally bust through the wall and force Megatron's crew to beat a hasty retreat to an oil refinery for a quick energy snack. Skyfire and the Autobots are not about to let them go, so the chase is on. Shrapnel gets cheeky and mind controls Sunstreaker and Sideswipe for a hot second, but Trailbreaker's force field breaks the spell. The fight gets messy. Thundercracker torches leaking oil, threatening to blow the whole place sky high. Ironhide manages to douse the flames, but then storm clouds roll in and Shrapnel turns the Autobots into lightning rods. Spike, thinking quick, tells everyone to use their rubber tires as insulation. Trailbreaker, once again the MVP, disables the Insecticon clones. Megatron, never one to take a hint, lights a tanker truck and sends it crashing toward the refinery. Optimus? Dude intercepts it underwater and launches it right back at Megatron. At this point, Megatron's had enough and goes after Bumblebee and Spike, but gets dogpiled instead. The Insecticons, sensing a free-for-all, turn on the Decepticons to binge on Energon. Megatron's not having that, and suddenly it's bad guy versus bad guy, which is always entertaining. In the chaos, the Autobots pull out a win. Optimus, ever the dad, warns that the Insecticons might switch sides again someday. But hey, he says the Autobots will be ready. Season 2. At 49 episodes, the second season of the Transformers was rather substantial in length. The seemingly random number of 49 was not quite so random though, as 65 episodes are the minimum requirement for a cartoon series to qualify for syndication status, and 16 plus 49 equals 65. In addition to these 49 episodes, a series of 5 public service announcements were animated, presumably to accompany the episodes. For whatever reason, these PSAs were never broadcast, and the episodes aired without the burden of trying to teach you anything. The second season greatly expanded the cartoon's scope and cast. This season tends to feature more character-driven episodes than the first, with many characters getting their own spotlight episode. It also features a recurring theme of the Autobots assimilating Earth culture, such as playing basketball and football, and even watching a soap opera. Excursions to alien civilizations popped up occasionally as well, not to mention time travel, miniaturization, and battles against undersea creatures. The second season also saw the introduction of concepts and characters that would spread out to other segments of the franchise, including the Mystic Alpha Trion, the ancient Vector Sigma supercomputer, and its circuit key. Not to mention the first appearance of female Transformers within official fiction. Autobot Spike, Sparkplug, who is basically the dad bod engineer of the Autobots, rolls out his big new science project, a cobbled-together giant named Autobot X. This thing looks like Frankenstein's monster if he was built out of car parts and spare kitchen appliances. So naturally, the demo goes sideways. Autobot X loses it, starts smashing up the joint, and it takes half the crew, Trailbreaker, Prowl, Ironhide, you name it, to wrestle him under control. Sparkplug's like, yeah, maybe let's just lock this mess up and pretend it never happened. But surprise, sirens start blaring. Decepticons are busy turning a rocket base into their own personal demolition derby. Autobots scramble to save the day. Rockets get toasted, and poor Bumblebee takes one for the team with Spike riding shotgun. Next thing you know, Spike's out cold and on a stretcher to Metro Hospital. Doctors, probably running out of ideas, suggest something wild. Hey, why not plop Spike's mind into another body while we patch him up? Wheeljack and Sparkplug run with it. They slap his brainwaves into Autobot X. Except, the results turn out to be less than favourable. Spike wakes up in this monstrous metal body, freaks out big time, and bolts into the wild. He catches a Frankenstein flick on Teletrain Wen and starts spiralling. Now he is convinced he is an actual monster. Laserbeak, that nosy bird, tips off Megatron, who swoops in and stirs the pot. Go smash your old pals, buddy. Spike, confused and angry, attacks the Autobots. They are all standing there, not wanting to hurt him. It all boils over when Spike almost hurts his own dad. That is the wake-up call. He snaps out of it, saves Sparkplug, and gives Megatron the boot. After all that chaos, Spike's body is fixed, his mind's popped back where it belongs, and everyone is left with a big case of the heebie-jeebies about ever playing mad scientist again. But hey, the real kicker, now they are all left wondering, how far do you go to save your friends? And what kind of mess do you make when you start blurring the line between man and machine? Dinobot Island Part 1. Bumblebee and Powerglide are cruising over the ocean, probably expecting a chill day, when they stumble onto some island straight out of Jurassic Park. I mean, we are talking actual dinosaurs just roaming around like it is no big deal. They barely get a chance to poke around before the local, very unfriendly cavemen start chucking spears at them. Not exactly a warm welcome, so they book it back to HQ. At Autobot base, they spill the news to Optimus, and everyone immediately starts buzzing. Spike? Dude's hyped, like kid in a candy store energy. Cliffjumper, on the other hand, is already side-eyeing the idea of letting the Dinobots anywhere near the place. Honestly, can't blame him, given their track record of turning everything into a demolition derby. Wheeljack stands up for his dino buddies and basically parades Grimlock out for show and tell. So, Grimlock does his thing, breathes fire to wake up Blaster, which Prime thinks is cool. But the rest of the crew, not so much. Blaster cranks his tunes, and suddenly half the room is covering their ears. Next thing you know, the other Dinobots crash in and start brawling like they are auditioning for WrestleMania, almost trashing Teletran 1 in the process. Trailbreaker jumps in with his force field. Red Alert's freaking out. Inferno's spraying foam everywhere. Total chaos. After a stern "get it together" from Optimus, Grimlock reins the crew in and does the whole "sorry, my bad" routine. Prime, being the forgiving bot he is, decides the Dinobots need their own playground and ships them, plus Powerglide and Spike, off to this new Dinobot Island. Meanwhile, Sneaky Ravage is eavesdropping, and Laserbeak tails the team to snitch to Megatron. On the island, the Dinobots are loving it, room to stomp around and flex their skills. Spike almost gets himself stomped by a dino, but Powerglide gets him out before things go full Land of the Lost. Back in the city, Spike and Bumblebee are minding their own business when, out of nowhere, some kind of time warp cracks open and barbarians riding mammoths start wrecking the place. They get buried under rubble for their trouble. Meanwhile, the Decepticons show up on Dinobot Island, drooling over all that juicy energy. Megatron kicks things off with a dinosaur stampede, swamping the Dinobots and sending them straight into a tar pit. So now the past and present are both going sideways. And honestly, everyone is in way over their heads. Dinobot Island Part 2. Megatron dumps the Dinobots in a tar pit and starts bragging about his victory. He is all, let's get back to stealing Energon from Dinobot Island. Starscream, classic worrywart, starts freaking out about how messing with the island's weird time energy is probably going to blow up in their faces. And honestly, he is not wrong. Meanwhile, back at Autobot HQ, Teletran Y picks up some weird time blip near the library where Spike and Bumblebee were last spotted. So, the Autobots roll out and boom, there's chaos. Vikings and woolly mammoths just tearing up the place like they own it. Hound tracks down Spike and Bumblebee, who are buried under some rubble, and Sideswipe digs them out. Bumblebee's all heroic, shielding Spike from getting squished. Once they are out, the Autobots have to play zookeeper and round up the random prehistoric cast. Optimus is all about no hurting the time-displaced folks, so everybody is using kid gloves. Sunstreaker, Huffer, and Sideswipe wrangle the mammoths, while Ironhide glues the Vikings, glue gun to the rescue. They hustle these poor, confused creatures back through the time portal before it slams shut. Back at base, Chip, Perceptor, and Beachcomber start poking around, trying to figure out why time itself is having a meltdown. Just as they start getting somewhere, two more time glitches pop up, one in the ocean, one out in the sticks. So, Sea Spray, Trax, and Cliffjumper get the aquatic mess. Pirates attacking yachts like it's Blackbeard's spring break. Autobots chase them off and shove the yacht back through the portal. Meanwhile, Prowl, Jazz, Red Alert, and Inferno run into a literal standoff between Old West outlaws and a biker gang. They send the cowboys packing back to their own timeline. Finally, the Autobots put two and two together. Everything is going haywire because of Dinobot Island. Optimus grabs some jetpacks, rallies the crew, and heads out for an air assault. On the island, the Dinobots bust out of the tar pit, see the utter mess Megatron's made, and basically go, "Not today, Megatron." They team up with the Autobots, and it's an all-out war. The Decepticons are winning until Grimlock calls in the local dino population, and suddenly it is Jurassic Park meets Robots Smackdown. Decepticons bail, Autobots smash the stolen Energon, and everything chills out. Optimus gives the Dinobots a little "proud of you guys" speech, and everyone heads home for traitor. Some brainiacs in lab coats are messing with these wild electro cells, super powerful, but kind of like ticking time bombs. They barely get a chance to figure out if they will save the world before Starscream and Skywarp crash the party, swiping the cells. Megatron carefully collects them, probably sweating a little because one wrong move and kaboom, right? As a cherry on top, the Decepticons torch the whole lab on their way out, just to be jerks. Cut to Autobot HQ, Cliffjumper bursts in, all fired up. He has found where the Decepticons are hiding, oddly enough right where Mirage was poking around yesterday. Cliffjumper's got trust issues and throws some shade at Mirage, but Optimus is not having it. He shuts down the drama and rallies everyone to go snag those cells. Starscream, being the absolute genius he is, jumps the gun and sets off the cells, causing a fireworks display nobody wanted. Megatron loses his cool, yells at Starscream, classic power struggle stuff. Laserbeak swoops in to spy, and boom! Autobots incoming. Megatron calls up the Insecticons, promising them some special prize, which, let us be real, is always a trap. The Insecticons crash the battle, chaos explodes everywhere, Mirage gets wrecked but manages to rip off Skywarp's badge in the scuffle. Shrapnel gets a little trigger happy and nukes the buffer, so both sides dip, licking their wounds. Mirage gets patched up, but Cliffjumper's still giving him the side-eye. Mirage, not one to just sit around, sneaks off, eavesdrops on the Insecticons, and swaps their reward cubes with Skywarp's stolen insignia. Cliffjumper sees him skulking around and jumps straight to the wrong conclusion, again. Later, Megatron and Starscream stumble onto Mirage, and in the confusion, almost blow up the Insecticons, triggering another brawl. Bombshell zaps Mirage with a Cerebro shell, basically turning him into a Decepticon puppet. Mirage, now on the wrong side, lures the Autobots into an ambush. Cliffjumper clocks Mirage upside the head, which, lucky break, knocks out the mind control. Ratchet spots the bug in Mirage's brain and yanks it out, so Mirage is back in the game. Just in time too, because Megatron, in true sore loser fashion, destroys the buffer and the cells so nobody can have them. End of the day, Mirage gets another tune-up. Cliffjumper eats some humble pie and apologizes, and the Autobots wrap things up with a little friendly banter. Enter the Nightbird. The Autobots are busy messing around with Wheeljack's new intruder detecting plates, which, let's be honest, probably have a 50-50 shot of actually working. When Dr. Fujiyama rings them up, he's all, "Hey, I built a robot ninja, please come babysit." Optimus Prime, always up for a weird day, says yes. Cut to the unveiling, where the Autobots are basically roasting the whole ninja robot idea, until Decepticons crash the party. The Autobots play it cool because, humans everywhere. Once the crowd bails, all bets are off. Classic Decepticon move. Starscream swipes Nightbird like he's shoplifting at closing time. Next stop, the Decepticon hideout. Bombshell gets to tinkering, flips Nightbird's loyalty switch to Team Megatron, cranks up her juice, and sends her off to nab the World Energy Chip. Meanwhile, the Autobots are eating humble pie, apologizing to Dr. Fujiyama and swearing they will bring Nightbird back in one piece. Nightbird, now a stealth mode menace, sneaks into Autobot HQ, dodges every trap, and makes off with the chip. Teletray gets KO'd, and the Autobots finally realize they have got a real problem. They try stopping her, but man, she has got moves. Optimus eventually lands a stun shot, but she is up and running before you can blink, ninja flipping her way out. Megatron's loving it, even drops a "maybe she should replace Starscream bomb" and Starscream. Oh, he is not having a good day. Autobots recover the chip, but Megatron's not done. He brings the whole Decepticon crew to bust out Nightbird, but in all the chaos, jealous Starscream breaks free and shuts Nightbird down himself, just to spite Megatron, basically. Megatron loses his cool and chases after him, leaving the Autobots to scoop up Nightbird and return her to Dr. Fujiyama. Back at the lab, Dr. Fujiyama puts Nightbird in storage, but the last thing we see is her eyes glowing, like she's just waiting for round 2. Episode 7, Changing Gears. The Decepticons storm a gold mine, grab the workers, and basically go full villain. Some poor guy tries to dial 911, but Starscream's about to turn him into toast, but Megatron stops him. Why? He wants the Autobots to walk right into his little trap. Cut to the Ark. Optimus is giving his usual pep talk, but Gears just cannot shut up with the whining. I mean, classic Gears, right? The Autobots roll up at the mine, but surprise! The Decepticons are using the humans as meat shields. Not exactly a fair fight. Things get spicy, and Megatron nabs Gears and vanishes. Suddenly, we are in Africa, because apparently villains need vacation backdrops too. Megatron rips out some funky circuit from Gears, and finally powers up his latest science experiment, the solar needle. Basically, it is a giant sun sucker. Sucks so hard, it starts causing earthquakes everywhere. Bonus! Megatron does not realize the thing is about to blow up the sun. And poor Gears, without his chip, turns into Mr. Sunshine, smiling, helpful, basically the world's most annoying yes man. Megatron's loving it. Autobots track Megatron down in the jungle and try to bust up the solar needle, but there is a force field. Cliff Jumper, never one for subtlety, just jumps through the top like a lunatic and wrecks the shield. Battle's back on. Megatron goes for the big guns and captures Optimus, threatening to off him in front of everyone. Not cool. Optimus, thinking on his feet, asks Gears for a favor. Just one last thing. Gears, still stuck in Stepford mode, helps out and shuts down the needle. Autobots hustle. Optimus yanks a wire. The sun's saved, no big deal. In the end, Gears gets his chip back, and he's back to being grumpy again. Autobots ride off into the sunset. Job done, Gears complaining the whole way. Episode 8, A Prime Problem. The Decepticons stumble on this weird crack in the ground, pumping out vibes from these corlonium crystals. Basically instant death for anything with circuits. Starscream, being his usual jump-the-gun self, wants to dive right in, but Megatron's like, dude, chill. He sends in a little drone, Auto Scout if you want to get nerdy about it, to scope out the danger. Once they see the crystals are absolute bad news, Megatron whips up this plan to bait the Autobots straight into the danger zone. Then he bails to go plot somewhere else. So Autobots roll up, not suspecting a thing. Before they can snoop around, Starscream comes in, guns blazing. During the chaos, Laserbeak blasts Optimus Prime into a ravine. Everyone is like, well, guess that's the end of Optimus. Except Megatron's got tricks. He builds a remote control Optimus clone to totally mess with the Autobots' heads. This fake Prime swaggers into Autobot HQ, but something's way off. He calls Ironhide Bumblebee, can't work Teletrayanoi to save his life, and just generally acts like he's running on dial-up. People start getting suspicious, but then real Optimus shows up, and now it's a full-on Spider-Man meme situation. Ironhide stops everyone from blasting away until they can figure out which Prime is the real deal. They try all the classics, shooting stuff, racing, whatever. Nada. The clone's still fooling half of them. Meanwhile, Megatron's busy amping up the chaos at the crevasse. Windcharger and Spike, doing their best spy impressions, catch wind of what's up, including the fact Megatron's got a Starscream clone too. Clones for days, apparently. Fast forward to a battle. Starscream clone faces off with one of the Primes, loses, and somehow convinces the crew that the clone Prime is legit. Robots are gullible, who knew? But Windcharger escapes, blows the lid off the whole thing, and tells everyone Spike has been nabbed. The fake Prime totally refuses to save Spike, which finally tips off Ironhide. No way that's the real deal. Autobots trash the clone, pull off a wild mid-air rescue for Spike, and in the end, everybody's back to following the actual Optimus. Peace restored. At least until the next Decepticon shenanigan. Episode 9, Atlantis Arise. The Decepticons pick up some bonkers energy readings underwater. Megatron's antennae go up, so he drags Soundwave along for a little deep-sea adventure. Turns out there is a whole hidden city called Subatlantica chilling on the ocean floor, run by this power-hungry dude named King Nergil. The guy's got big surface world domination dreams. Megatron, never one to pass up a sketchy partnership, is like, hey, I'll trade you some of our nifty Decepticon tech if you let me tap into your insane geothermal power. Classic Megatron move. Starscream, of course, is giving major side-eye. He does not trust these psychic fish people one bit, but Megatron's too busy drooling over the energy supply to notice. Meanwhile, back at Autobot HQ, chaos as usual, Dinobots playing football, if you can call it that, with Spike, Bumblebee and Hound. Wheeljack rolls in, probably sighing at the mess, and tells everyone to knock it off because he has picked up a weird energy spike near the Decepticon base. Optimus Prime, never one to ignore a mystery, sends a squad, plus Spike, because why not, to check it out. Bad move as they get ambushed. Wheeljack ends up a prisoner in Subatlantica. And then the whole city rises up out of the ocean like something out of a Godzilla flick. Nergil wastes zero time revealing that he is going to use Wheeljack to build weapons against everyone. Starscream, not the brightest but not dumb either, catches on quick that Nergil's about to double-cross them. Things escalate. Optimus splits the Autobots. He heads off to Washington to face this weird new alliance, while Spike and Bumblebee try to rescue Wheeljack. Nergil, always the show-off, throws a dome of invulnerability over DC and hits Wheeljack with a magnetic ray that basically fries his circuits. Starscream tries to suck the last bit of juice out of Wheeljack, but the good guys show up in time to stop him. Meanwhile, Nergil's zapping Prime's crew, and Megatron's already plotting how to stab his new undersea buddy in the back. But then Wheeljack calls in the Dinobots, and they just smash through the dome, wrecking everything in sight. Starscream, in a rare moment of team spirit, actually saves Megatron from Nergil's disruptor, and then announces that the Subatlanticans are now on the Decepticons' bad guys list. Grimlock smashes the disruptor. Autobots are back on their feet, and both villain squads run for Subatlantica like a bunch of kids caught with their hands in the cookie jar. Final showdown. Nergil, losing his mind, decides if he cannot have his city, nobody can, and hits the self-destruct. Subatlantica goes up in smoke. Autobots barely make it out, and Optimus wraps things up with a classic, I doubt we'll see Nergil again, at least not anytime soon. Episode 10, Attack on the Autobots. The Decepticons kick things off by attacking Autobot HQ, just to pull Prime and the gang outside. While the Autobots are off doing hero stuff, Megatron and Starscream, basically covered in invisibility glitter, sneak in and mess with the Autobots' recharging chamber. They slap on this personality destabilizer, which sounds like a fancy way of saying evil juice. Next morning, the Autobots wake up acting nuttier than a Cybertronian fruitcake. Teletran. I tries to warn everyone about a rocket launch, but the Autobots are too busy being jerks. Megatron's got them brainwashed, so Prime literally smashes Teletran Y with his own hands. Meanwhile, Jazz, Bumblebee, Spike and Sparkplug are off jamming to Jazz's new sound system, Priorities. Bumblebee strolls back to HQ, only to find the place trashed. Bluestreak, who now is a full-on bad guy, ambushes him, but Jazz swoops in and shuts Bluestreak down. Sparkplug, MVP that he is, fixes up Teletrain Menoir, and the Autobots are evil now. Things go from bad to worse. Corrupted Autobots attack an Air Force base, and Megatron sends Hound and Ratchet to swipe some top-secret solar satellite plans. But Sparkplug's got a plan. He builds an attitude exchanger to snap the Autobots out of their villain phase. Jazz tries it on Bluestreak. It works, and then he's off like a one-robot rescue squad. Hound, Ratchet, Skyfire, they all get de-eviled and jump on board. Together they crash the Air Force Base party and cure everyone except Prime, who's still out of his mind. Bumblebee, bless his spark, risks it all to zap Prime back to normal. But wait, Megatron's got to have one last scheme. He hijacks the rocket and takes off with the satellite. Autobots hop in Skyfire and speed after him. Jazz drops a sonic boom. Prime chucks the satellite into orbit like he's in the Cybertron Olympics, and the Decepticons bail. Back at base, it's party time. Bumblebee gets the hero treatment, plus a bit of good-natured roasting, and Spike can't resist dropping a dad joke to wrap things up. Episode 11, Microbots. Diggers poking around some old Mayan ruins down in South America, just doing their archaeological thing, when suddenly they stumble on a buried spaceship. Not your everyday find, right? Megatron and Soundwave catch the news and immediately do that dramatic villain stare. Turns out, it is their ride from 1,000,000 years back. And there is more. Megatron remembers he stashed something spicy on it. The heart of Cybertron. Basically, this crazy, powerful energy core. Think nuclear reactor, but for giant, angry robots. Meanwhile, over in Autobot HQ, Perceptor's fiddling with Ironhide's memory chip and his new shrink-grow gadget, while Brawn's in the background, throwing shade about Perceptor's complete lack of brawn. Optimus, being Optimus, sends Brawn, Bumblebee and Ratchet to crash Megatron's jungle party. So, off in the rainforest, the Decepticons are blundering through the undergrowth. Starscream gets mugged by a snake. Ravage gets into a literal cat fight with a jaguar. It's basically National Geographic, but everyone's armed and metallic. Autobots show up, and props that they don't torch the whole jungle. Megatron gets to the ship first, nabs the heart, and has Hook jam it into his chassis. The Autobots try to stop him, get absolutely steamrolled, and barely manage to escape after dropping a hill on everyone's heads with a smokescreen. Back at the Autobot base, Wheeljack's busy building a giant force field, and Perceptor comes up with a plan that's part science fair, part fever dream. Shrink himself, Brawn and Bumblebee down to micro size so they can sneak inside Megatron and mess with his internal wiring. Meanwhile, the Decepticons are getting hammered on Energon. Power Glide straight up chucks the tiny team into Megatron's body. Inside, it is straight up Tron meets Fantastic Voyage. They dodge all sorts of electronic death traps, crawl up to Megatron's brain, resisting the urge to just nuke it and call it a day, and finally reach the heart of Cybertron. While Megatron's busy blowing up Autobot HQ, the mini-squad yanks the heart loose and bails. They pop back to normal size just in time, and Wheeljack launches the unstable core into the sky, where it explodes without nuking the planet. Brawn, for once, admits Perceptor isn't just a nerd, he's a genius. Episode 12, The Master Builder. Grapple's got this wild idea for a solar power tower. He is super hyped, showing off his little model to Hoist. Hoist? He is into it. Like, wow, dude, this is actually a cool plan. So they roll up to Optimus Prime, who's busy dunking hoops with Spike. Yeah, robot basketball, don't ask. Prime listens, nods, but then just flat out says, no, too risky, he says. Decepticons would wreck it in 2 seconds. Grapple's crushed, obviously, but he is not ready to drop it. He tries to rope Hoist into building it anyway. Hoist gets cold feet, though. Bro, we can't just ignore Prime. Plus, we do not even have the stuff for it. Before they can argue more, the Constructicons show up and trap them. Scrapper hits them with this wild story. We ditched the Decepticons. Let us help with the tower. Grapple's like, sure, prove it. Next thing you know, these guys haul in a truckload of Energon, swearing they jacked it from Megatron. Grapple, a bit too eager, buys it. Construction kicks off, using a bunch of stolen human supplies. Grapple's having the time of his life, totally oblivious to the fact he's getting played. Back at Autobot HQ, Prime's still bawling, but then he realizes, wait, where's Hoist? He sends Powerglide to go look, and Powerglide finds the solar power tower pretty much done. Right as Devastator plops the last piece in place, the Constructicons turn on Grapple and Hoist. Megatron storms in, snags the tower, and starts sucking up solar energy like it's a free energy drink. The Autobots roll up, and there is a big old scrap. Prime gets clever and tricks Devastator into wrecking the tower himself. Whole thing comes crashing down. Decepticons bail, as usual. Rescue mission time. Grapple and Hoist get pulled out of the rubble, all sheepish. They apologize, Prime's chill about it, but makes them clean up their own disaster. And in the end, Grapple and Hoist just kinda stand there, looking at the mess, mourning their busted-up dream. Episode 13, The Insecticon Syndrome. Some poor trees are getting absolutely wrecked in a national park, and Ranger Jeff requires help. In roll the Autobots, Spike, Hound, Beachcomber and Bumblebee, looking heroic as ever. Turns out the culprits are the Insecticons, robot bugs. But the Insecticons are not just snacking on pine trees, they have decided to go big or go home. So now they're eyeing those massive redwoods. Jeff still cannot buy the whole giant robot bugs thing. Another Ranger backs up the story though, so the Autobots spring into action. Meanwhile, Megatron's doing his usual "let's take over the world" routine, and wants the Insecticons' help to smash Iron Mountain, super secret military base. Soundwave tracks down the Autobots, and Megatron decides to just watch the chaos for a bit. The Autobots face off with the Insecticons, and things get dicey. Giant log, almost squished Autobots, just the usual stuff. But plot twist, it is just Hound's hologram, so nobody's actually dead. Megatron then cozies up to the Insecticons, promising them an all-you-can-eat buffet at the Nova power plant if they help him out. So, at Nova, chaos erupts. Decepticons attack. Insecticons start chugging pure energy. They turn into humongous bug monsters. They get all power mad, start plotting to take out Megatron. And Bombshell mind controls Soundwave with one of those nasty Cerebro shells. The Autobots get wrecked, forced to bail. Teletran I, being the cosmic worrywart it is, predicts the Insecticons are going to explode if no one does anything. So now it's a race. Decepticons versus Autobots at Iron Mountain, with human defenses getting hijacked by shrapnel. In the middle of all this, Optimus Prime and Megatron call a truce because apparently exploding bug monsters are bad for everyone. Spike saves the day with an antidote, just in time to stop shrapnel from going kaboom. The mind control shells fizzle, Soundwave's stolen secrets get wiped, and the Insecticons bug out. Sorry, had to. Decepticons are left sulking. Autobots still standing.
Please.
Episode 14, Day of the Machines. Megatron and Soundwave, being their sneaky Decepticon selves, bust into Quantum Labs, the place with that fancy computer. Talk 3. Megatron's rolling full-bond villain, hiding himself in a guitar case, and basically uploads his own evil brain into Talk. He hands out some shiny remote control circuit linker cards, and suddenly Talk can boss around machines everywhere. Meanwhile, Dr. Paul Gates is on his "maybe machines shouldn't run the world" soapbox. But Talk, not really feeling sympathetic, just locks the dude in his office and drops the whole "I run this place now" act. Megatron does not waste time. He has got oil tankers worldwide doing donuts in the ocean, which gets Teletran P and Optimus Prime in a total tizzy. Dr. Gates manages to send out a help signal. Prime rallies the Autobots for a field trip to Quantum Labs, while Hound, Skyfire and Spike go play detective with the oil tankers. At the lab, Torque's got every machine on a rampage. Prime's just about had it, so he calls in the Dinobots, except Swoop, who apparently had better things to do. The Dinobots show up and, well, make a mess of everything in the most Dinobot way possible. Grimlock, never one for subtlety, reminds Prime who's actually wearing the big pants. Elsewhere, Hound and the gang try to sneak onto a tanker, but they get grabbed and end up on the Decepticons' oil platform. Back at Quantum Labs, Prime goes lone wolf into Torque's maze. Torque slaps a linker card on him, but Prime totally fakes being brainwashed, then just decks Torque right in the software. Megatron, realizing his computer buddy's down for the count, grabs the world's chunkiest remote and goes analog. Dr. Gates, now free, hands the Autobots a hydrofoil, which is probably just a speedboat with extra attitude. Spike gets clever with an electromagnet to break out, and Hound and Skyfire trash the platform's defenses. Autobots roll out, massive brawl, and Prime rips the remote from Megatron, who throws a tantrum, crushes the remote, and smashes the self-destruct button because if he can't have it, nobody can. Prime heroically grabs his crew, and they all bail just before everything goes kaboom. Dr. Gates tries to crack a joke about trusting machines, but it lands so awkwardly that everyone just laughs.
Mission of our guilt. Board the rocket now!
Episode 15, Megatron's Master Plan, Part 1. This big, shiny solar tower's getting unveiled in Central City, and everyone is all hyped, until Decepticons crash the party. Starscream, Thrust, Dirge, and Ramjet just blast in, all attitude and no manners. Turns out the tower's basically useless at this point, which only ticks them off more. The military rolls up with tanks, thinking they've got it handled, but the Decepticons turn those tanks into scrap metal in like 10 seconds. The mayor's basically yelling for the Autobots like they are superheroes. So, Optimus rolls in with Ironhide, Warpath, Smokescreen, Bumblebee, and even Trax flying overhead. Full squad vibes. The fight's wild. Trax blinds Dirge for a hot second, but then Ramjet slams him down. Thrust and Starscream aren't having much luck either. The Autobots smack them around and basically force the Decepticons to retreat. Cue the mayor showering the Autobots with praise. Spike's all, "Finally, people appreciate us." About time, right? But because nothing's ever that easy, here's Sean Berger lurking in the background. Total wannabe big shot, eyeballing the mayor's job. Out of nowhere, Laserbeak swoops in and snatches him up, drops him at Megatron's feet. Megatron's all, "Hey, wanna be powerful? Help me make the Autobots look bad." Berger, being a slimeball, is like, "Yeah, sure, whatever gets me ahead." So, Berger films what he thinks are Autobots trashing an oil field, but it's just Decepticons pulling off a bad cosplay. He airs this fake footage at some big event, painting Optimus and Wheeljack as villains. People lose their minds. Suddenly, Berger and the mayor are having the Autobots arrested, actual trial and everything. Spike tries to save the day by finding the real tape, but Ravage shuts him down. The court finds the Autobots guilty and boots them off Earth. Here's where it gets wild. Megatron secretly sets their shuttle to fly straight into the sun. Berger, watching this mess unfold, finally puts it together. He's not some mastermind, he's just Megatron's disposable stooge.
Grovel for my amusement.
You hear that?
Episode 16, Megatron's Master Plan, Part 2. Central City's throwing a full-blown Decepticon Day party. And this guy, Sean Berger, is front and center, basically fangirling over Megatron and his crew. Meanwhile, Sparkplug and Chip are off to the side, looking like they just bit into a lemon, muttering about how it might be too late for Spike to blow the lid off this whole mess. But hey, Spike's not just sitting around, he's actually got the goods. Real video proof that the Autobots are not the bad guys here. Just as he is about to get out and spill the beans, Ravage pops up like a nightmare cat, and chaos erupts. Spike fumbles, tapes go flying, but somehow he manages to trap Ravage under a mountain of cassettes and makes his escape. Not exactly smooth, but hey, it works. Meanwhile, Soundwave and his cassette crew waltz into a high school disco. They're out there trying to mingle with a bunch of teens who are way too busy dancing to notice anything weird. It's honestly hilarious, like watching your dad try to blend in at Coachella. Out in space, things are looking grim. The Autobots are barreling straight toward the sun because Megatron rigged their shuttle. Cliffjumper and Ironhide are freaking out. Hound checks the course, and Cosmos tries to grab the wheel, but nope. No luck. Right before they get flame-broiled, Trailbreaker throws up a force field, and Cosmos hauls everyone's metal butts back toward Earth. Back on the ground, Megatron's already doing his victory dance. He renames the city Megatronia 1, and suddenly everyone's got a new job. Slave labor. Burgers still sucking up, but Spike tries to crash Megatron's press conference with the truth only to get nabbed, and his precious tape? Toast. Chip, though, he's scrappy. He busts out of a power plant, sneaks a look at Teletrain 1, and puts 2 and 2 together about the shuttle. Too bad Thrust shows up, trashes the computer, and drags Chip away before he can actually do anything useful. Just as all hope feels lost, Cosmos gets his act together and brings the Autobots roaring back to town. Prime and the crew roll in, fists flying, and absolutely stomp the Decepticons. Central City's freed. Burger gets carted off to jail. Good riddance. The mayor clears the Autobots' names, and peace settles in. For now, anyway.
Now, Autobots!
Episode 17, Auto Berserk. The Autobots are all hyped up after testing out their shiny new toy, the Negavator. Out of nowhere, Soundwave rolls up with his little cassette crew and starts causing trouble. Most of the Autobots go charging outside to throw hands, but Red Alert, he's sticking to his post, ready to fire this mega cannon. Inferno's got his back, at least for like 5 seconds, before he gets distracted by the chaos outside and bails, which leaves Red feeling totally ditched. They manage to smack the Decepticons around a bit, but Rumble gets a cheap shot in before he leaves. Red Alert takes the blast, and suddenly his brain's all scrambled eggs. The dude goes full tin foil hat, starts thinking everyone's out to get him now, especially Inferno. Later, when they are hauling the Negavator back, Red's supposed to be on lookout duty, but thanks to his fried circuits, he totally blanks on warning them about another Decepticon sneak attack. Cue a landslide, some Autobots getting buried, and Smokescreen pulling off the save. Optimus tries to check in with Red, but instead of talking it out, Red just gets out of there. He's convinced everyone wants to stab him in the back. Starscream, who is basically the king of sneaky, sees Red losing it and goes, "Hey buddy, want to team up and mess things up for everyone?" And Red happily agrees. So he leads Starscream through some secret tunnel into the Autobot base. Ravage, of course, is lurking around, sees the whole thing, and tattles to Megatron. Inside, Red and Starscream trip an alarm, but somehow still snag the Negavator. Just as the rest of the Autobots and Megatron show up, Starscream double-crosses Red and zaps him with a null ray. The blast actually fixes Red's scrambled brain. He suddenly realizes, wait, I don't want to help these guys. So he sets the Negavator to self-destruct, forcing everyone to run away. Inferno, feeling super bad for flaking on Red earlier, dives back into the exploding bunker like a total hero and drags Red out just in time. The Autobots are celebrating. Red tries to apologize for going all conspiracy theorist on them, but Optimus shuts him down with love and reminds him he's part of the team. Red's like, with pals like you, being brave is actually kinda easy.
The end of that arm is holding a gun.
Episode 18, City of Steel. The Decepticons are up to their usual nonsense. This time, they want to flip New York City into their own twisted version of New Cybertron. Laserbeaks zipping around, snitching to Megatron, while the Constructicons are busy tunneling under the city, literally yanking the Empire State Building underground. The Autobots, oblivious at first, then they finally catch on and rush over to Central Park. Optimus, Ironhide, Bumblebee, and Ratchet are leading the charge, looking heroic. But Laserbeak's already spilled the beans, so Megatron sets up a trap. The Autobots get into it with Soundwave above ground, but then Constructicons pull the rug, well, street, out from under Optimus, and he drops like a rock right into their hands. Megatron's got him, slices his motor relays, and basically tells the Autobots to scram, or he'll melt Prime down like a cheap toaster. Oh, and then Megatron pulls the ultimate flex. He lifts the Empire State Building up and claims it as his new evil lair. The Autobots look totally hosed, but Spike, our resident human with more guts than sense, decides to sneak in through the sewers. Meanwhile, Megatron's keeping Prime's head in a jar just to rub it in. The Constructicons, not content with wrecking landmarks, build a straight-up robot alligator out of Prime's spare parts. Spike, Bumblebee, Ratchet, Hound, and Mirage go ninja mode and sneak into the base. They find Prime's head, slap him back together, mostly since his right arm's still MIA. Prime wakes up just in time for the big showdown. Then it's chaos. The Autobots storm the Decepticon fortress, fight off killer taxis, and have to deal with Prime's own arm being turned against them. Spike and Bumblebee pull a fast one on Megatron, trick him into smashing his own control device, and suddenly Prime's arm is back on their side. Devastator shows up for the final boss fight, but teamwork wins the day. Optimus drops him with a little help from his friends. City's saved, Autobots are high-fiving, and Bumblebee puts the cherry on top by slapping an I Love NY sticker on his bumper as they roll out. Episode 19, Desertion of the Dinobots, Part 1. The episode kicks off with Optimus Prime and the crew rolling up to some human lab. Everyone's all excited about this fancy new drone fighter. Of course, things cannot just go smoothly. The Decepticons crash the party, all sneaky-like, trying to steal the blueprints. Soundwave and Ravage are literally hiding inside Ironhide, stirring up chaos while Starscream just straight up trashes the drone. Autobots start poking around the mess, but then Megatron storms in, guns blazing. Luckily, Autobots aren't sleeping on the job. They throw down and send the Decepticons packing. Later, Spike, Carly, and Bumblebee are just trying to chill at Funorama Park. Robots deserve some fun too. But nah, the universe says nope. They stumble on a full-on Decepticon hideout in an airport hangar. Most of the Autobots are MIA, so Wheeljack's like, let's call in the Dinobots. And man, the Dinobots show up and mop the floor with the Decepticons. Megatron, though, blows up a bunch of planes, causing this huge explosion that messes up the Dinobots. The rest of the Autobots race over, put out the fires, and haul the Dinobots off for repairs, except Grimlock. He's just tired of always playing rescue and basically rage quits the team, dragging the other Dinobots with him. While all this drama's going down, the Decepticons start acting real weird. Ravage just bails for no reason, and Rumble loses it and clocks Megatron. Turns out they've all been running on some sketchy energon, so naturally the Decepticons raid a power plant, but both sides start glitching out. Meanwhile, back at Autobot HQ, things get worse. Everybody's breaking down because they're out of this stuff called Cybertonium, which you can only get on Cybertron. The catch? Autobots are too busted up to go fetch it. So, who's left? Spike, Carly, and Sparkplug. They go looking for the Dinobots to see if they'll help out. Grimlock's not feeling it at first, but as soon as someone mentions Cybertonium, he's suddenly interested. Dinobots crash the party at the space bridge, throw hands with the Constructicons, and zip off to Cybertron. Prime tries to stop Spike and Carly from following, but yeah, they go anyway. Now they're on Cybertron with Shockwave lurking around, while the Autobots on Earth are basically falling apart, so it all lands on the Dinobots and two gutsy humans to save everyone. Episode 20, Desertion of the Dinobots, Part 2. Spike and Carly land on Cybertron and pretty much go straight into chaos. Not even 5 minutes in, and Shockwave's already blowing up Carly's car. Not a great start. They leg it, diving into some sketchy computer system which doesn't love visitors. They mess it up a bit and Carly gets banged up. But hey, silver lining, her accidental sabotage shuts down the space bridge, so Megatron's Cybertonium shipment. Yeah, that's not happening. Spike, thinking fast for once, whips out Wheeljack's secret radio and calls Sparkplug. Good old Sparkplug, always with the dad advice, points them to Wheeljack's old lab. Only, plot twist, Swoop shows up banging on the roof. Turns out the Dinobots got themselves mind-controlled by the Decepticons. Anyway, now we've got a squad. Spike, Carly, and Swoop, creeping around underground. And of course, it's Cybertron, so nothing's easy. Security systems, busted transport tubes, everything's trying to kill them. Carly stumbles on some old data track about the war, because why not have a little history lesson while you are running for your life? Then, boom! Captured by a freaky sentinel and dumped in the Cybertonium pit. But Carly's got skills, so she patches up the Dinobots' memories. Grimlock and Spike stage a fake fight to distract the guards. While all that's happening, Sparkplug does some space bridge magic, rerouting it back to Earth. Dinobots finally snap out of it. Wreck Shockwave. And even though Swoop gets clipped, they all haul back to Earth with the Cybertonium. Autobots get their groove back. Optimus hands out honorary medals like it's the end of a Star Wars movie. Grimlock's all, "Fine, I'll help, but don't get used to it." Episode 21, Blaster Blues. Spike and Carly drag Blaster out to a rock concert because obviously you cannot leave your boombox buddy behind when there's music blasting. Blaster's loving it so much that he decides to beam the whole experience straight to the Autobots. Cosmos? He's just chilling up in space, jamming along. Back at HQ though, Prime and the crew are not having it. I mean, who wants loud music blaring in the middle of Omega Supreme's weapons testing? Meanwhile, over at the Haley Observatory, Professor Haley's showing off his fancy Voltronic Galaxia. Supposed to send Earth sounds into space, well, he kinda succeeds, except he rings up the Decepticons instead. Megatron and his goons swoop in, smash and grab the thing. So, Prime splits the Autobots into teams to hunt down the stolen tech. Blaster and Cosmos end up finding the Decepticons on the moon and get themselves captured. Megatron forces Blaster to mess with all of Earth's communications, and suddenly the planet's a total mess, fires and accidents. Back on Earth, Ramjet and Thundercracker show up at an airport and lay into Powerglide and Prime. Not their best day. But Spike and Carly, they're troopers. They patch up Powerglide and follow the trail of Blaster's jam session all the way to the moon. They load up Optimus on Omega Supreme, who by the way is basically a giant space Uber, and blast off for a rescue. On the moon, Omega's like, "Megatron, you want to go?" And things get wild. Optimus gets knocked down, but not out. He rallies, takes on Megs, and gives him the boot. Meanwhile, Blaster and Cosmos do what they do best, break stuff. They wreck the Voltronic Galaxia and game over. Megatron runs again. With the old Decepticon base now a pile of lunar rubble, Blaster has got ideas. Let's turn this place into our own moon pad. Optimus is down, but only if Blaster keeps it down. Yeah, right. Blaster cranks the tunes anyway.
Fire! It's me, Starscream! We're back!
Episode 22, a Decepticon raider in King Arthur's court. Mid-battle, the Decepticons stumble into this super old cave, and suddenly they're chilling in 6th century Britain. Autobots and Spike end up sucked in too. Locals see these giant robots and just assume, yep, those are knights. Classic medieval misunderstanding. The Decepticons, never ones to pass up a power play, team up with some dude named Sir Wigend to take down his rival, Sir Etherling. Meanwhile, Starscream's got his own drama going, basically plotting to snag the throne for himself. Then there is this jousting mess. Ramjet and Rumble get completely destroyed by Warpath and Etherling. Starscream, being the sore loser he is, kidnaps Etherling's daughter Nimue and forces the villagers to cobble together a sketchy power generator so the Decepticons don't run out of juice. Spike tries the whole knight in shining armor thing, but Nimue's already fallen for Wigend. While the Autobots are running on empty, this wizard named Beort rolls in and zaps them back to full strength with a bolt of lightning. They throw down with Starscream, trash his generator, and book it back to the cave. Except there's a dragon hanging out at the entrance. Beort whips up some medieval fireworks, which he calls Dragon's Bane, and scares the dragon off. The Autobots and crew finally make it back to their own time, only to find Megatron lying in wait. Joke's on him though, because Starscream comes barreling through the portal and messes up Megatron's grand ambush.
Come on, gang! Boogie on over!
Episode 23, The God Gambit. On Titan, Saturn's weird orange moon, there's this astrologer priest dude, Jero. He rules with an iron fist, scares people into tossing offerings to some made-up sky god. Classic cult leader stuff. But then Talaria, who is basically leading the underground resistance, blows the lid off his scam and straight up smashes the idol. Meanwhile, out in space, Cosmos gets jumped by Astrotrain, Starscream, and Thrust. poor guy crash lands on Titan. Jero's like, "Sweet, my ticket back to power." And then Astrotrain shows up and starts acting as a god. Titans fall for it, end up mining crystals for the Decepticons. To make matters worse, Cosmos gets turned into a new idol. Imagine being worshipped while the Decepticons are basically downloading your brain. Talaria sneaks in and plugs Cosmos back into a comlink so he can phone home. Optimus Prime gets the SOS, but Red Alert freaks out and is like, "Boss, you gotta stay put." So, Omega Supreme, Jazz, and Perceptor go instead. On Titan, Jazz and Perceptor link up with Talaria and find Cosmos, but their jailbreak totally flops and they have to bail. Then Astrotrain's like, "Screw it, let's sacrifice Talaria. Yeah, this guy's definitely not winning any humanitarian awards." Jazz swoops in and saves her, while Perceptor's out gathering crystals so they can juice up Omega Supreme. Autobots regroup, send the Decepticons running for the hills. But of course, Decepticons being Decepticons, they blow up the crystals before leaving. Omega Supreme manages to save the Titans, so at least there's a happy-ish ending. Mostly explosions and drama, but hey, that's Titan for you. Episode 24, The Core. The Constructicons are busy drilling down toward Earth's core, all because Megatron wants to steal some geothermal juice. Starscream's in the corner, probably flapping his wings and screaming that they're all about to blow up the planet. But does anyone listen? Nope. Autobots eventually crash the party, run face first into Devastator, and barely make it out in one piece. Back at Autobot HQ, Wheeljack and Chip are doing their science magic, cooking up these Dominator discs to basically turn Devastator into their own pet kaiju. And, weirdly, it works. Suddenly Optimus is barking orders and Devastator's tossing Decepticons around like rag dolls. Megatron and his crew don't love that, so they bail. Megatron's already got a backup plan. Dude's hiding a device that zaps the discs and flips control back. Next thing you know, Devastator's smashing everything, Autobots are in chaos, and the drill's about to punch a hole straight to the planet's heart. Cave starts falling apart, Megatron's escape plan fizzles, and Optimus, because he's Optimus, talks Megatron into handing the wheel back over to Wheeljack. Wheeljack gets things back online, Devastator smashes the drill, and the world's saved. Megatron's still a snake, but Devastator stays loyal. For now. Chip gets all hopeful, thinking Devastator might switch teams someday, and Optimus gives him the classic "never stop believing, kid" pep talk. Episode 25 to 49, Make Tracks. Trax rolls through NYC only to get jacked by some wannabe street racers. Luckily, Raoul, a kid with more attitude than sense, helps him out. Then they find out that the Decepticons are behind it all, turning Hot Wheels into their own private drone army. Cue a citywide smackdown. Pretty sure New York traffic was never the same. Next, the Autobot Run. Autobots sign up for a charity race. Things go sideways when the Decepticons zap them with the Transfixatron, locking our heroes in car mode. Honestly, it looks grim until Wheeljack and Ratchet pull off some MacGyver nonsense and flip the script. Weapon goes boom, Autobots are back, and the Decepticons eat dust. The Golden Lagoon is just sad, honestly. Beachcomber finds a magic pond that makes you invincible. The Decepticons dive in first, trashing a peaceful forest. The Autobots catch up, but by the end, the grove's toast. Beachcomber's left staring at the wreckage, like, was it worth it? Then there's Quest for Survival. The Insecticons chow down on Earth's crops like locusts on a sugar rush, so the Autobots fetch some robo-bug spray from outer space. But they bring back the Morphobots, these freaky, sentient plants. The Morphobots kick Decepticon butt, but they are so unsettling the Autobots just ship them off to some random planet. Out of sight, out of mind, right? The secret of Omega Supreme hits the feels. Omega spills his tragic backstory, once the bouncer of Cybertron, betrayed by the Constructicons after Megatron brainwashed them. Now, he has got this vendetta that almost wakes up a sleeping alien Godzilla. Prime, being Prime, talks him down and saves the day. Child's Play is just bonkers. A space bridge goes haywire, flinging everyone to a planet of giants. The Autobots and Decepticons are basically action figures to this kid, Aaron, who just wants to play. Through some classic teamwork and Perceptor's science magic, they rocket back home. Toy Story, but with more lasers. In The Gambler, Smokescreen gets stranded on a casino asteroid. He falls in with Bosch, a space gambler, and tries to win Energon in the weirdest high-stakes games ever. When Bounty Hunter DevCon jumps in, it turns into a jailbreak. Gladiator robots, energy debts, chaos. The search for Alpha Trion brings back Elita 1 and her squad of female Autobots. Cybertron's basically a dystopian war zone. Elita gets snatched by Shockwave, Optimus charges in, and Alpha Trion, Optimus's robo-dad, swoops in to save the day. Feels like a family reunion. Autobop is pure 80s. Blaster and Trax uncover a Decepticon-run nightclub using hypnotic beats to brainwash people, and, weirdly, construction workers. Raoul and his breakdancing crew help the Autobots shut it down and expose Soundwave's sonic scheme. Then there's Prime Target. Some aristocratic nutjob, Lord Chumley, decides collecting rare animals is boring. He wants Optimus Prime as his new trophy. He sets crazy traps, even tricks Blitzwing and Astro Train into helping. Prime outsmarts everyone. The Girl Who Loved Powerglide is basically a rom-com with robots. Astoria, a rich heiress, keeps getting kidnapped by the Decepticons, and Powerglide, who is like the grumpiest babysitter ever, reluctantly saves her and even shows a mushy side at the end. Triple Takeover is a mess, but in the best way. Blitzwing and Astro Train pull a coup, freeze Megatron, and go full Looney Tunes with their takeover plans. Blitzwing uses a football coach for military strategy. Astro Train builds a subway army, and it all falls apart like a bad group project. Megatron comes back, mad as hell. Sea Change goes underwater. Sea Spray falls for an alien mermaid rebel. There is a magic well that turns him human and her human-ish, and together they whoop the Decepticons. Love conquers all, even if you are, a boat. Hoist Goes Hollywood is, well, exactly what it sounds like. Hoist and the gang stumble into being movie stars after saving some stunt drivers. There is a ridiculous monster flick, a Decepticon heist, and the MacGuffin they are all chasing turns out to be nothing, but just one of Wheeljack's failed inventions. The two-parter, The Key to Vector Sigma. Megatron builds the Stunticons and needs the legendary Vector Sigma computer to bring them to life. The Autobots counter with their own team, the Aerial Bots. Alpha Trion, the OG, sacrifices himself to make them work. It all builds up to a huge throwdown. Menasor versus Superion. Planet nearly blows up, but the Autobots save the day, destroy the magic key, and toss another ancient Cybertronian artifact onto the Never Touch Again pile. Aerial assault is wild. The aerial bots end up in some generic Middle Eastern country, poking around after some missing planes. Turns out, some sleazy official named Ali is in league with the Combaticons. There is this kid, Hassan, tagging along, turns out. He's actually Prince Jumal. Together they topple this wacky Decepticon Griffin fortress and ruin everybody's evil plans. Then, in Masquerade, the Autobots literally cosplay as the Stunticons to sneak into Megatron's HQ. It goes about as well as you would expect. They deliver some stolen parts, but the real Stunticons show up and blow their cover. Ironhide does some last-minute sabotage on the Ruby power core, which makes the big Decepticon weapon explode in Megatron's face. Not bad for a day's work. In Trans-Europe Express, the Autobots join this Europa 2000 race. Think Cannonball Run, but with robots, because some guy named Augie Carne has a tricked-out car loaded with a rare alloy. The Decepticons want those parts for a weather machine. Season 3 transformed the whole premise of the show. Gone were the two teams stranded on Earth, along with many of the characters that composed those teams. In their place was a galaxy-spanning tale of battles on alien worlds. With the Autobots in firm control of Cybertron, the Decepticons, though still a threat, were somewhat reduced as villains. New enemies in the form of the Quintessons were introduced. Plots often centered on the ultra-powerful city bots, Metroplex, and Trypticon. Season 3 of Transformers kicks off with 5 Faces of Darkness. It has got that epic 5-part energy. Picture this. It is 2005, Autobots are back on Cybertron, and the Decepticons, they are basically squatting on this garbage dump of a planet called Char. The peace? Oh, it barely lasts 5 minutes. During the first ever Galactic Olympics, some shady Skuxoid and a bunch of Sharkticons crash the party and kidnap Spike, Cup, and Ultra Magnus. Real subtle guys. Springer and RC charge in to save the day, while Cyclonus and Scourge are off playing Galactic Fetch, dragging the absolutely bonkers Galvatron out of a volcano on Thrull. Rodimus Prime, meanwhile, is poking around, realizing the Decepticons are falling apart and there's a massive scheme brewing. Turns out the Quintessons, those creepy, tentacle-faced ex-bosses of the Transformers, want their planet back and are not above a little backstabbing. The Autobots get caught, almost executed, but Grimlock and the aerial bots pull off a clutch rescue. Then everyone crash lands on this nasty, gluey planet called Goo. Rodimus gets all trippy with a Matrix vision, learning the Quintessons have been pulling strings since forever. Decepticons attack, but Galvatron loses his mind and nearly takes out the Quintessons instead. Rodimus dives into the Matrix on Junkion, uncovering the ugly truth. Transformers were just a business venture for the Quintessons until the bots rebelled. Fast forward, Decepticons and Quintessons team up, drop the hammer on Autobot City and Cybertron. Trypticon goes full Godzilla, but Metroplex wakes up and throws hands. The Quintessons try one last trick, a kill switch for all Transformers. But Spike basically saves the day. Blitzwing switches sides, and Rodimus finally clocks the Quintessons as the real villains. Then there's the Killing Jar. One mad scientist Quintesson grabs Ultra Magnus, Cyclonus, Wreck Gar, and Marissa Fairborn for some twisted behavioral science project. The whole gang gets sucked into a black hole, comes out in a negative universe, and barely makes it back. Everyone just sort of shrugs and heads home. Chaos dives into Cup's past, back when he tussled with this absolute nightmare called Chaos on Planet Dread. Decepticons are now mining death crystals there, and Cup has to face his old monster. He blasts it with Galvatron's own cannon. Old bots can still throw down, apparently. Now, Dark Awakening. The Quintessons revive Optimus Prime, but he is basically a zombie puppet sent to lure the Autobots into a trap. At first, everyone's like, yay, Optimus is back, but nope. He betrays them. Only in the end, Optimus snaps out of it, saves the fleet, and sacrifices himself. Again. Rodimus gets the nod as the guy now. Starscream's Ghost is a whole soap opera. Octane's running from Galvatron bumps into Starscream's Ghost and they team up. Starscream goes full poltergeist, possessing Cyclonus and later Scourge, just to keep things spicy. Then, in Thief in the Night, Octane's hiding out in Carbombia, siphoning oil to power Trypticon, who's busy stealing world landmarks like he's playing a giant game of Monopoly. Autobots eventually stop the madness, fix their rep, and tell the local dictator to stop letting Decepticons crash on his couch. Forever is a long time coming is a time travel time. The Autobots get zapped 11 million years into the past, help ancient Transformers throw off the Quintesson yoke, and meet A3, who's actually Alpha Trion, Optimus's mentor. Small world. In Surprise Party, Daniel and Wheelie try throwing Ultra Magnus a birthday bash, but they screw it up royally. They accidentally send an asteroid barreling towards Cybertron. Then, Cyclonus pops in, snatches them, and suddenly everyone's in danger. But hey, Ultra Magnus and Sky Lynx swoop in to save the day. Spike decides, screw it, it is Magnus's birthday now. Cake for everyone, I guess. Then you've got a madman's paradise. Daniel and Grimlock literally trip into some mystical universe ruled by a red wizard who's actually a Quintesson. With a little help from this blinged out guy called Golden One, they zap the wizard, peace out, and everyone's relieved Daniel didn't get himself turned into a frog or something. Carnage in C minor. Decepticons mess with a planet full of musical aliens. They try weaponizing music, because why not? Autobots team up with a trio of locals, Allegra, Basso, Z-Bop, and totally outjam the bad guys. Oh, and Soundwave gets his mind wiped, so he forgets the whole thing. Fight or Flee drops us on Paradron, this hippie Autobot planet where everyone's too relaxed for their own good. Cyclonus rats them out, Galvatron invades, mayhem ensues. Sandstorm's like, nope, and goes for backup. Rodimus and company show up, but the only way to beat the Decepticons is to blow up the whole planet. So yeah, they blow up the planet. Web World. Cyclonus tricks Galvatron into space therapy on Torkalon, this planet that's like an intergalactic psych ward. Spoiler, the therapists are useless. Galvatron loses it even more, fries the whole place, and escapes. Ghost in the Machine. Starscream's ghost is back. Unicron promises him a new body if he does some fetch quests. Steal Metroplex's eye, grab Triptychon's cog, and try to stick Unicron's noggin on a new body. Autobots crash the party. Starscream gets punted into space again. See you next Halloween, Screamer. Then there's the Dweller in the Depths. Quintessons convince Galvatron to let out this freaky, trans-organic monster, the Dweller. It zombifies pretty much everyone. Autobots, Decepticons, you name it. Perceptor zaps everyone back to normal. They launch the monster into space, and the Quintessons end up as its snack. Karma's a beast, huh? Nightmare Planet is trippy. Quintessons hijack Daniel's dreams, turning his nightmares into real monsters. Rodimus and Ultra Magnus are stuck fighting dragons and all sorts of nonsense. Eventually, Daniel faces his fears, beats the dream, saves the day. Honestly, kids got guts. The big broadcast of 2006 is wild. The Junkians get brainwashed by evil TV signals, all because the Quintessons want their lost journal back. Autobots snap the Junkians out of it. There's a big scramble for the journal, and once again, the Quintessons get exposed as the universe's slimiest con artists. In the wild two-parter season finale, The Return of Optimus Prime, you've got these scientists, Jessica Morgan and her dad, who stumble across Optimus's dead body. And what do? Accidentally splash him with the hate plague, which is basically a cosmic rage virus that turns pretty much everything into angry lunatics. Naturally, things go sideways fast. Rodimus Prime loses it, the galaxy's falling apart, and it's just absolute mayhem. Sky Lynx and Jessica, who somehow dodges infection, go on this desperate hunt and dig up a Quintesson who actually knows how to bring Optimus back to life. Optimus is back, and honestly, nobody does a comeback like this guy. He grabs the Matrix, blasts away the hate plague, and suddenly everyone's chill again. The season wraps with Optimus at the helm, Autobots following his lead, and honestly, if that does not scream hope survives, I don't know what does. Even with the universe tossing new disasters every 5 minutes, Optimus just keeps rolling. Season 4. According to David Wise, he was contacted by Sunbow Productions to write a 5-part series finale which would introduce a deluge of new characters while simultaneously tying up the series. Shortly after Wise completed the 5-episode outline, however, a budget cutback reduced it to a 3-parter. This created a massive headache for the writer, who did the math and claimed that they'd be introducing a new character just about every 28 or 90 seconds. Dan Gilvezan also expressed his confusion at the truncated season. It didn't fit into a syndicated weekday broadcast schedule, which needed to be divisible by 5. In the end, 25 brand new Transformers and 21 Nebulans, that's 46 new characters in all, were introduced across these final 3 episodes. Well, that's assuming you count Fortress Maximus and Scorponok as separate characters from Cerebros and Zarak and Punch and Counterpunch as one guy. The Rebirth is basically a wild 3-episode roller coaster that picks up right after Season 3. Optimus Prime's back in action. Everyone's relaxing on Cybertron, and for one hot second, it looks like peace is actually a thing. But not for long. Optimus starts having these trippy, doom and gloom visions, and Galvatron and his new headmasters, Apeface and Snapdragon, pop in to trash Autobot City and jack the key to the plasma energy chamber. This thing isn't just a fancy door opener, it can wipe out planets. Optimus catches on that this whole attack was just smoke and mirrors. Galvatron's got bigger, badder plans like blowing up Cybertron itself. Meanwhile, the Autobots get blasted off into deep space and crash on Nebulos, a planet where nobody's rolling out the welcome mat. The locals think the Autobots are the bad guys. In the chaos, Daniel gets wrecked. Spike comes up with this off-the-wall idea. Autobots and Nebulans should merge, literally, to make headmasters. RC links up with Daniel to save him, and the others start fusing with their own Nebulan buddies. Suddenly, the Autobots are beefed up and ready to throw down with the Hive, these creepy telekinetic overlords who are now besties with the Decepticons. Their boss, Zarak, decides, hey, let's upgrade our baddies too. And soon the Decepticons are rolling out as headmasters and target masters. Back home, Optimus is off on a spiritual side quest, chatting with Vector Sigma and Alpha Trion's ghost. Turns out this whole fusion thing is destiny, Golden Age. Optimus heads back to Nebulos, just as the Decepticons are rolling out their own upgrades. Mindwipe steals the key, but Brainstorm figures out how to copy-paste the Target Master process for the Autobots. Now everyone's got a partner, and the fight's a lot more even. Things really pop off in the last episode. Zarak brings out Scorponok, basically a city that can punch you, and the Decepticons kidnap Daniel and RC to force her hand. Galvatron finally spills his whole Bond villain plan. Blow up the sun, take out Earth and Cybertron in one go. Optimus is getting vision after vision, but he rushes in for the showdown. Spike and Cerebros wake up an old Hive city, turning it into Fortress Maximus, a giant robot to square off with Scorponok. Epic clash, Maximus wins, and they shut down the chamber. Spike, thinking on his feet, dumps the unstable sun energy into Vector Sigma, instead of, letting everything explode. Cybertron gets a new lease on life. Cerebros wants to hit snooze forever, but Spike talks him out of it. Optimus decides the new headmasters and target masters should stick around Nebulos as peacekeepers. Galvatron and Zarak slink off to plot another day, but you can tell the bromance is over. So, yeah, the whole thing wraps up with Cybertron basically getting a second shot at glory, the Autobots finally catching a break for once, and peace, at least until the next toy line drops. Season 5. Season 5 did not feature any new episodes, but rather consisted of 15 episodes from the previous seasons and the Transformers. The movie broken up into 5 episodes for a total of 20 episodes. A music video for The Touch was also used to fill time. In addition to a new title sequence and new commercial bumpers, new bookending segments were added to each episode. These segments featured an animatronic/stop-motion puppet of Power Master Optimus Prime meeting regularly with a live-action human named Tommy Kennedy to tell him old Transformers stories. While the stories were old, the bookending segments took place in a contemporary time, with Optimus regularly name-dropping characters who never appeared in the older episodes, but were currently available on store shelves. Marvelous verdict. Transformers G1 is basically the OG of cartoon robot throwdowns. It was not just gun action and metal punching metal, though, yeah, there was a lot of that, which ruled. You had this wild mashup of sci-fi weirdness, kind of cheesy yet awesome dialogue, and a cast of robots with more personality than half the humans on TV back then. Honestly, the show did not just slap together a bunch of toys, but it built this whole universe that just kept getting weirder and deeper. The characters stuck with you. The storylines actually had stakes. And let's be real, Optimus Prime dropping wisdom was like Saturday morning therapy. Even now, decades later, people are still nerding out over G1. It didn't just launch a franchise, it basically created a cult. That's some legacy. If you enjoyed the content we brought to you, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more.